very interesting. So I want to really keep you interested till we get to that point in time. And that will be like the highlight of the day as the conversations we are going to have in that session, followed by the pitches we are going to have, will really keep us, really glued to why we're here today. So I hope you're going to have a great time. The Africa Climate Finance Day, as always, this is like the third or fourth year we've done this back to back, is a strategic platform that we have designed to accelerate climate-focused innovation and investment. We can achieve more if we don't get more investment into the space. So it's pretty much very interested. What we do rather for this sector is we don't do for Nigeria. Our focus is always the entire continent, Africa. So that makes it even much more interesting. So the event today will spotlight top innovators, giving them the opportunity to pitch. I'm sure most of you, this is why you are really here, to listen to them, to hear those innovative ideas, and to be able to understand how this solves a very key problem within our climate space. So we'll be giving them this opportunity to pitch their solutions directly to investors and gain access to critical funding networks. So yes, as I said, we have some VCs who are here, who will be joining and listening. Okay. Exactly. All right. I even look behind, who will also be joining us as part of the conversation to try and listen to some of these speeches and see how we can connect them to funding and investment. Alongside these speech sessions, the day brings together policymakers, financial institutions, development organizations, and private sector leaders to address Africa's most pressing climate challenges and how we can explore sustainable financing mechanisms. Ladies and gentlemen, it's interesting day ahead, really, and I appeal to us that would like to get your full attention as we get the conversation on the way. All right, no much talking. The room is a bit looking cold. Let's get some exciting things up before we get our full conversation for the day. So we have some questions, some facts we'd like you to respond to. Let's see who the fastest fingers would be. Just a way to spice or bring our knowledge back to some of these things while we're here. And maybe that will help us as we go on. Are we ready? Okay, it seems I'm the only one in the room. Are we ready for this? All right. Okay, guys, can we get it up on the screen? So the room is a bit, I want the energy back in the room as soon as possible. I know it's an evening, usually a work day in Lagos in the evening. Everyone is a bit exhausted, but I promise you what we are doing here today is we create an unforgettable moment. And I'm sure that will remind us of what we do for the sector as climate tech entrepreneurs. Okay, technical team, is that ready? Five more minutes. Okay. All right, while we're waiting for that to come on very quickly, maybe I'll just invite our CEO for his opening remarks. And after that, we get into, those facts that we have together, like a quick game that we want to play so that we spice up the room a bit. But let me invite our CEO to come give us his opening remark while we give the technical team more time to get ready for us before we get into the conversation for today. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, please join me to welcome Mr. Idowu Akinde, MD, Impact Hub Lagos. One more time for him before he gets here.
Hi. Plenty of coldness in this room. Should we crank up the AC? I think we should make it hotter. Welcome, and thank you for honoring our invitation to be a part of this event today. This is the third time we're convening critical ecosystem players together for thank you to advance climate efforts on the continent. I'll share a few thoughts shortly about why this is really, really important, but I really am appreciative of the fact that we are all here today to give this very, very important topic some attention. If I may, distinguished guests, visionary founders, forward-thinking investors, partners, and friends, welcome. To understand why we're all here today to talk about climate finance, I first need to take a small detour and tell you a story not about solar panels, but about the accident that created an industry whose effects are felt across the globe. I want to share a story about a currently massive economic movement that was created entirely by grit and resilience right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Years ago, back in 1992, an unknown obscure electronics trader in Idumota Market named Kenneth Nnebue, some of you might know where I'm going with this just by the mention of that name, faced an existential challenge. Kenneth Nnebue wasn't a filmmaker, nor was he an artist. He was just a businessman with a problem to solve. Now let's cast our minds back to the Lagos of 1992. Lagos was tough, and the wider economy was harsh. To add to that, Kenneth had imported a massive shipment of blank VHS tapes from Taiwan, but he couldn't sell them because no one was buying blank tapes anymore. And so he was staring at a huge financial loss. What did Kenneth do? We'll get to that shortly, but first let me tell you what he didn't do. Kenneth did not write a proposal to the Ministry of Culture, and Kenneth did not wait for a bank loan. Instead, he took bold, decisive action. He grabbed a cheap video camera, put together $2,000, approximately 20,000 naira then, no comment, or roughly 3 million naira today, and shot a simple movie called Living in Bondage. Sound familiar? Of course, we all know the movie. Of course, today we all know that title. His key insight was that if the blank tapes had something on them, people would buy. Now, at the time, Kenneth did not aim for the Oscars. He just wanted to clear his stock of tapes. But guess what? That simple act, taken 33 years ago, born out of desperate entrepreneurship, is the origin story of Nollywood, which needs no introduction to any of you today. Fast forward 30 years, and that local film production has grown and scaled to become the second largest movie industry in the world by volume. Thank you. Nollywood now employs over 1 million people and is a key vehicle for exporting our culture to the farthest reaches of the earth. Now, the lesson from that story is profound. Why am I telling us about Nollywood at a climate conference? Whenever you pit seemingly intractable problems against the sheer grit and relentlessness and tenacity of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship always wins. Because Kenneth chose not to be discouraged by the circumstances of his situation, he proved that infrastructure is not just about concrete and cables. It is market demand meeting human ingenuity. Today, we have thousands of Kenneth Nnebues in the green economy. They are the entrepreneurs that are building waste-to-wealth solutions in our slums, and they are the engineers that are designing solar-powered stoves and cooking stations for rural families. They have ingenuity, they have market demand, but unlike 1992, we can't wait 30 years for the ecosystem and the support structure to catch up, or for this to scale organically. Climate finance must therefore not just be about public announcements or pronouncements. It must be about putting capital into the hands of the gritty, relentless, tenacious entrepreneurs who are ready to build a new resilient economy. Tape by tape, brick by brick, stove by stove, solution by solution. The interesting thing is that Africa's relationship with climate change is a profound paradox. The same continent that has contributed the least to the causes of this climate situation is already suffering its most devastating consequences. But guess what? Within this paradox lies the opportunity for one of the greatest economic and social transformations of our time. Africa has contributed 2 to 3% of global emissions, yet those emissions are the silent thief that steals 34% of our crop yields, already cost our continent $4 billion per year in floods and storms, and with just a 0.5% rise in temperature in equatorial countries, there's a high likelihood for the mosquito population to double, despite having contributed 2 to 3% to the causes of the climate situation. Therefore, we cannot afford to treat the climate situation the way everybody treats the climate situation, okay? We have to own this situation because we will suffer the greatest. However, like I said, it's a paradox. With that terrible situation also comes the greatest opportunity. If you know anything about me, you know that I always say that the greatest problems present the greatest opportunity. So therefore, the greater the problem, the greater the opportunity. And climate change is by far the biggest problem we collectively face. We are not a victim here, we are central to the solution. The global market for climate adaptation and resilience technology is estimated to be a $1 trillion opportunity by 2030. That's 4 years from now, because we're already at the end of 2025. And our continent is uniquely positioned to lead it. We have the strategic assets. 1, vast tracts of arable land. 2, abundant and untapped renewable energy from solar and wind. And 3, a massive, young, and competitive workforce ready to build the future. This $1 trillion opportunity isn't a theoretical number in a consultant's report. It's being built right now by visionary founders across the continent. And the true story of African climate innovation is being written not in policy papers, but by some of the people that will present today, some of the innovators, some of the resilient innovators that will pitch today, and some of the solutions that will be featured today and will get support to scale their businesses today. Let me introduce you to just 2 of them. 1, Earthbond. Earthbond took a crippling economic challenge and turned it into an engine for community resilience. How? What was the problem? Some businesses in Nigeria are trapped by diesel generators with fuel prices multiplying 6 times. And what was the solution? Earthbond provides affordable financing for solar. The impact: businesses have slashed costs, cut emissions, and won their economic freedom. Number 2, case study 2, Zebra Crop Bank. The problem: smallholder farms are forced to sell their entire harvest when market prices are at their absolute lowest, leaving them with little control over their own hard work. The solution: they're building an Airbnb for crop storage, a network of secure facilities where farmers can safely store their produce, their harvest. And what's the impact? Farmers now wait for favorable prices because they have good quality storage, dramatically increasing their income and even using those stored crops as collateral for loans. These are some of the innovators building Africa's future, not just in some far distant future, but today. As our partner Jordan Forrester aptly puts it, the flutter waves of climate tech are being built in Lagos, right here before our eyes. Thank you. They are proving through action, not by waiting for perfect circumstances, that our continent's greatest challenges are also our most profound opportunities for transformation. The question is, how do we help many, many, many more, possibly hundreds or thousands of them, to succeed? While the entrepreneurs are the heroes of this story, they cannot succeed alone. They need a dedicated system of support. And this is where Impact Hub Lagos comes in. This is the entire purpose of the Africa Climate Finance Day, the 3rd edition of which we're holding today. And our goal is to channel impactful investments into deserving but otherwise unseen climate solutions for Africa. We are here to find and fund the brilliant ideas that too often fall through the cracks of traditional finance. To that end, we made a very deliberate shift. This event used to be known as the Africa Climate Tech Pitch Day, the 1st edition 2023. However, we rebranded it to the Africa Climate Finance Day last year not just as a name change, but as a strategic evolution. This name change signals our shift in focus from simply showcasing technology to mobilizing and deploying financial capital at scale. It sends a clear message to everyone in this room and beyond that we are here to get deals done. And this platform delivers. At our inaugural event, the 10 startups that we showcased went on to raise over $3 million. At our most recent gathering, participants raised another $1 million. Now, this is not a, thank you. Now, this is not a talk shop. It's a proven mechanism for converting vision into funded, scalable ventures. And that is ultimately why we are here today. Startups are here to tackle big problems, and climate change is the biggest problem we face. The problem is no longer if Africa will lead the global green transition, but who will join that movement. Our vision for this series of events, annual events, is to become the continent's premier indispensable mechanism for mobilizing private sector capital into scalable African-based climate solutions. And correspondingly, our vision for the wider African climate sector is to foster a thriving ecosystem that creates green jobs, builds resilience for our most vulnerable communities, and firmly positions Africa not as a victim of climate change, but as an active architect of the world's green future. Let me take that again. Firmly positions Africa not as a victim of climate change, but as an active architect of the world's green future. This vision requires all of us, and I have a direct call to action for everyone in this room. To the investors in the room, I challenge you to see what Jordan calls the elephant in the room. The massive overlooked opportunity to generate returns while driving global decarbonization. The next world-changing ideas are being built here. Make the early bets on them today. To the founders, keep solving the hard problems. Your ingenuity and resilience are our continent's greatest assets. Use today to connect. Get out of your comfort zone. Talk to someone today. Talk to someone new. Use today to connect, to learn, and to find the partners who believe in your vision, not just investors, but other partners who can bring you customers or provide some of the value chain that you need to deliver your service, who believe in your vision and will help you scale your impact to every corner of this continent. And to the policymakers, keep supporting us. We know you have good intentions, and we recognize that the huge behemoth of a machine that is the government can be frustrating even for you as you try to enact policies that catalyze our efforts. Please don't give up. Keep up the good work and keep up the good fight. And to everyone else, this is not a spectator sport. Get involved, connect with someone new, collaborate on an idea, stay for the entire event, engage with the team, and become part of the solution. The next world-changing idea is somewhere in this room or will be pitched today. Let's find it, let's fund it, and let's build a climate-resilient Africa. Thank you.
If you're clapping, let's do well again for our MD and CEO. And one more time for Impact Hub for driving these conversations for the last 3 years. I'm very happy to see how much has been raised so far. So it's a sign to the companies that we're pitching today that you're not just pitching to a platform that you're not sure what will come. There have been results over the years. So impressive one. I really want to commend Impact Hub. I know when we did the first edition, and now we are the third one. We hope by the 10th one we are raising hundreds of billions. And that's where we are. Please round of applause again for Impact Hub. But I worry a lot when we have conversations like this. One will expect that since it's something that affects every one of us, the hall they'll be struggling for more seats, for more people, but usually it's not the case. But climate change is something that is real. When the rains, came very heavy, just recently, my local government, I'm from River State, I was just worried as to see how that really changed a lot. The flooding in some areas, into some homes, and see how a lot of things have changed, and this, being driven by climate change itself, and the reality of it. It has become a very big challenge, for our country here in Nigeria. I'm sure it's a similar case for other African countries. So that's why conversations like this is very important. And I hope that we'll keep at it. We'll not be discouraged to see that we keep the conversations going. I also remember some 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago when the conversations on solar started intensifying strongly. You talk to some people about solar and how we can save our environment. Some people look at you and be like, you're talking Bangladesh. And now see the journey where we are. And someone was talking to me at a conference and she said, look, Wisdom, I powered my home with solar 5 years ago, and I look back now, I see how much I've saved, how I even cringe at the sound of a generator, and that gives me joy. We've saved, something there, and the environment itself is very happy that at least one person has gotten it right. So our conversations today are very important, how we really can do much more to save our environment and do more for climate change. All right. Anyways. Okay, so if you look at the screen, we wanted to refresh our minds on some topics, some facts, while we just freshen up our conversations, our minds, our knowledge on some of the topics we'll be discussing today. So if you look up your screen, we have a QR code. If you want to scan it and then you use the code, you can go to www or just to menti.com and use the code. You see on your screen quickly. Everybody, we want you to do so. Help us, indulge me. Let's refresh our minds a little bit on some of the things we'll be discussing. So please, let's scan the code. All right, people online are fast. Woo! All right, if you haven't scanned the code, can I see my hands in the hall? We have all scanned the code. Are we that fast? Wow. Everybody? Okay, I haven't scanned the code yet. Let's go for you. Can I see your hand? You're doing big, madam, bigger guy. Don't raise your hand. Okay. All right. In 1 minute, we'll start. Just want to be sure, everybody. I think we have 38 people on, correct? 38, okay. Let's get that to 40, maybe, okay. I think we can get it to 45. Let's see. 39. We have 40. Okay. 1 more minute. I know 5 more persons here have not scanned. If your scanning is not working, you can just use the URL. Just go to menti.com and then you enter the code we see on the screen. We're giving the next 60 seconds for you to just quickly do that so we don't lose you as we start. We're at 41. I know there are 4 more persons I've been counting. So there are 4 people I want to join. So they can quickly join. How many persons do we have online? Do we have all of them on? 30 seconds more going. I think my prize home. Okay. All right, let's start. I think that's the much we can take. 41 persons. Let's go on. Please start. Technical, waiting on you. All right. Sometimes technology can. We have to start fasting and praying these days for technology. But do you see it on your screen if you started? Oh, okay. All right. Since you're having network issues there, okay. Should we come back and try it? There's somebody stopping this game from working. Who are you? Show yourself. Eh? Somebody here is stopping this from. Should we go on and come back to it? Okay. I guess we'll go on and come back to it then. All right. There are exciting questions that I really think would have refreshed our minds for the day. So we'll come back to it. We really need to take it so that some of us can, have those knowledge again, as we need to do that to follow up on our conversations for today. All right. We'll move quickly to our next segment on the program where we want to have someone come talk to us real quick. Just again, part of setting the tune for the day, for our conversations. And just to know, when we have forums for us like this, and we have government represented, it means that they take the conversations such as this very seriously. And one state that does that I'm very impressed, I think they're one of the first state government that created an office on climate change and that supported a lot of work that happens around climate change is Lagos State. Please, round of applause for Lagos State, please. Yes. So it's very impressive when there's a presence of government here. It means a lot, especially here in Lagos. And for me, that is very impressive. Our next speaker here that will be coming to talk to us very briefly is the special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on climate change and circular economy. She serves in this role, and she has been leading the transition to a zero carbon and climate resilient economy, which the state of Lagos is looking at 2050. She is driving initiatives to position Lagos as Africa's first subnational carbon market, and they are very close to achieving this. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a round of applause, join me to welcome Titi Oshodi, the special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on climate change and circular economy.
Since the CEO also started with his laptop, I might as well get my iPad. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to be here. The COO, who's a really good, how can I put it, kindred spirit, coerced me. I'm not going to speak to the other person, and I might sound a bit groggy because I've just come in, but this is clearly one of the areas that is that we're very keen on in Lagos. And as the MC has said, a young office, but saddled with a lot of information and with very little time for us to be able to achieve. So it's pretty much like a sprint and a marathon. So thank you so much to Impact Hub for giving us this opportunity to share and also to pitch. I will also be pitching along with the founders who are lined up for the day. And so it's an honor to be joining you at the third Africa Climate Finance Day, a platform that continues to push the boundaries of what is possible for climate action on our continent. And I want to commend Impact Hub Lagos for creating a space where ideas are maturing into strategies, and strategies are translating into financeable, resilient, and scalable climate solutions. We're gathering tonight because Africa is at a critical point for development. Climate change is no longer that distant threat. It is here with us. It's reshaping our cities. It's touching on our industries. It's affecting our food systems. It's recalibrating our finance models. And this is why a gathering such as this is very strategic and very timely. I will be referencing a couple of, findings, just to justify and create a bit more rationale around why climate finance should become more knowledgeable. It should become more understandable. It should become the essence for our budget, our book balance, our workflow. From the latest findings, the UNEP Adaptation Gap Report 2023 and the Climate Policy Initiative 2024, even the Lagos Development Plan as well. points to the fact that Africa and Lagos is becoming the epicenter for both climate vulnerability and climate opportunity. And these numbers are very clear. Mr. Akinde, referred to some of them, referenced some of them, that Africa contributes less than 3.8% of global emissions, sadly. Yet, we remain the most climate vulnerable region on Earth. Our adaptation finance, on a very depressing mode, need about 5 to 10 times greater than the current inflows that we get. And we're receiving only 3% of global climate finance, despite being home to nearly 20% of the world's population. And it goes without saying that investment must be accelerated right now, because it may cost our continent over $50 billion by 2030. So these seem like very scary numbers. But on the flip side, I think that it also presents transformative opportunities for us. And this is where we need to start to catalyze climate finance, climate literacy. We need to start to delve deep into these numbers so that we can become like Okonkwo that created living in bondage. ACFD is not a space for despair. It's a space for designing new financial futures, and that is where excitement lies. Empirical modeling shows that every $1 invested in climate resilience yields between $4 and $7 in economic benefits. It is one of the highest returns on investment in development economics. Africa is not a risk. Africa is a return on investment waiting to be unlocked. If we take a look at Lagos, we zoom in on Lagos. Lagos is a microcosm of Africa's urban future, and we generate 13,000 tons of waste on a daily. We circularize the stream, and we're able to unlock a multi-billion naira value chain. And this is already reported, verified by the UNEP report of 2024. Over 70% of Lagos greenhouse gas emissions are concentrated in energy, waste, and transport. And these are the sectors with the highest investment potential. So we just got back from COP30. Sadly, I didn't go, maybe not sadly, I'm glad in a way that I didn't, go to Belém. But we had a chance to showcase out of these sectors some of the things that Lagos State is doing, from waste management to circular economy to e-transportation to e-waste, from a decarbonization perspective. And one of the things that stood very strong in my mind was that Africa is not behind. We're just not measured. For some of the areas that we have pitched, there's so many things that we're doing, but because we're not recording and reporting data, tons and volume of money that can transform our economic trajectory is being left on the table. My discussion with the MD Lamata told me so many things about the sort of vehicular emission that we're abating, moving on our electric rail. And I use the word electric because that in itself is the gold mine in itself. Vehicular movement from carbonized motors, carbonized engines, carburetors, to improving efficiency in everyday life, to increasing productivity in the lives of the commuters, to ensuring that security also around those places are, well aligned with protecting lives, mitigating the risks. All of these things are what the global north take into consideration and capture under very strong ESG contributions. And yet, we still don't do that here. What about the buses that are beginning to transition away from the carburetors to electric vehicles as well, our mass transit buses? We're already investing in that, but that is still not being captured. A few months ago, we commissioned electric boats on our ferries, right? And we celebrated one of the most profound electric sports in Africa, the very first in Africa. And the model clearly stated a sustainable report of very, very strong decarbonization models. But we didn't own that. The owners, the authors, the progenitors, the organizers owned it on our soil. However, it unlocked the opportunities for water restoration, for marine restoration, for green and blue economy, for aquaculture, right? For regenerative finance, and we're still not catching on yet. The mother of the projects that we took with us to COP30 that we swear by was our 80 million clean cook stove. And the reason why we have become very verbose and very loud and very confident about it is because 80 million clean cook stove is not just about clean energy. It's about penetrating each of the households in the vulnerable, the grassroots, firewood-laden, black smoke-laden home in our coastal areas. The 80 million clean cook stove, with Lagos championing and pioneering 8 million, 10% of that, serves as our inroad to driving climate solutions that address, number one, deforestation. Nigeria is one of the highest ranking exporters of firewood. It's a 300 billion naira industry, which speaks to the level of deforestation, which speaks to the level of felling that happened, and that also speaks to the level of impact with the climate situation. And it speaks to our health trajectory, because you and I know that for every average home that relies solely on cooking with firewood, not only have the repelling smoke factor in their home, but there's also very, very strong respiratory issues, even from the first and the second inhaler in the home. It also strongly speaks to the economic trajectory in that home. Statistics say that these guys spend 30% of their income on firewood. So the 80 million clean cook stove is like our Rolls Royce. It not only provides the opportunity to transition and pivot away from the use of firewood in the homes, it helps also to tack on circular economy practices by the conversion of agricultural waste and the conversion of construction waste, which is also a major, major problem for us in Lagos as a jungle city. It also helps to begin to diarize our data from the health degradation on these people. So these clean cook stoves come with all of the badges of an Article 6.4 certified emission reduction portfolio, which is one of the areas that we need to begin to crank up our knowledge and crank up our outputs on, because what it means for us from a climate finance perspective is that the off-sale of this clean cook stove provides the ability for us to measure, to be able to verify, to be able to report, and also be able to record. One of these clean cook stoves, each of them have meters that actually capture abatement on every cooking experience, and it is linked to a blockchain central unit where the interpretation, all of the carbon decarbonized data are taken into consideration, and it has all of the badges for credible carbon credit footprints. The reason why I'm saying this is because with the room full of young people, what it means for us is that the opportunities and the benefits that this Clean Cook Stove brings goes beyond just the cooking in itself. There is new opportunities for jobs to be unlocked. There is new opportunities for technology and innovation to be developed. There are new opportunities to derive, the knowledge behind using technology to record ESG contributions, using AI to be able to record ESG contributions. That can mitigate the risk of any form of infringement or fraud or what have you. And so it presents for us a 2.1 billion climate finance opportunity in Nigeria. And this is one of the things that the World Bank Clean Cooking Fund has said. It's also gotten that badge, the 5-star badge on it. Lagos is embedding climate finance principles into policy, into planning and execution from programs that we have run, one of them called the EcoCirculate, and also a waste valorization project that gives our household communities and also our young entrepreneurs an opportunity to interact directly with their waste. Because if we say that we generate over 13 tons, of waste on a daily, cutting across various categories from PET bottles to textile to e-waste to organic, what it means is that all of what can easily be intercepted from the home, or what can be sorted at base, are transactable from collection to, to sorting, to recycling, to upcycling. And we can definitely begin to look at, offsetting sort of carbon emission from between 30 to 60%, and sort of reduce the cost of management and infrastructure, the pressure that is on our infrastructure from a state level. So our initiatives are not just pilot projects. These are projects that we have simulated, we have tested them. The kitchen performance data is ongoing right now on the Clean Cook Stove. We're aligning them with global frameworks that ascertain the carbon credits, and kudos to our government on the federal level. A month ago, we instituted the carbon exchange framework as well. And if you are in green finance, you'll be able to understand what that means. And these are, the sort of frameworks that the global funding institutions want to hear, they want to listen to. Starting from the UNEP Finance Initiative to the OECD Blended Finance Principles, to the Climate Investment Fund's Resilience Framework, to the Africa Union Climate Strategy. We can't be talking about this conversation, we can't be talking about projects like this, and their eyes will not lit up. So, we're looking for investors. We're looking for investors that would align, that would help us to be able to set our policy to be stable, help us with credible data, drive inclusion within our communities, help us in measuring the outcomes, and also establish that bankable pathways. Africa Climate Finance Day matters because the future of climate action on this continent will be determined not only by technology or policy, but by the availability, accessibility, and design of finance systems that reflect Africa reality. So we need more local currency instruments. We need more blended finance vehicles that will tailor to African risk profiles. We need more guarantees and more first loss mechanisms to de-risk green investments. We need more city-level financing because African cities generate over 70% of national GDP, but receives less than 10% of climate finance. And we must, if it has to be credible, we must make it women-oriented. We must have the youth, informal workers, and grassroots innovators, those that are the front line of climate change, that are not afterthoughts. They have to be the central beneficiaries for us. So the message is simple. We don't just want our climate transition to be donor-driven. We want it to be bankable. We want it to be investment-driven. We want it to be data-driven. We want it to be innovation-driven. And platforms like the AFCD presents that opportunity, and that is how we can begin to shape the future. So on behalf of Lagos State, I extend warm goodwill, and I commend Impact Hub Lagos for hosting a convening that is both intellectually rigorous and profoundly necessary. And I pray that this year's AFCD spark more than the 3 million or the 1 million, new financing models, new partnerships, new research insights, and new commitments, because Africa does not lack potential. It requires capital, collaboration, and courage. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone productive, impactful Africa climate financing.
Please, let's do it one more time for Lagos State. Amazing. And Special Advisor, we are encouraged this year because Lagos State is present. We also want to appeal that some of the companies that we pitch will require government support. Now that you're here, we are hoping that government can also step in, because I think most of the companies are Nigerians, or Nigerian-based. We can also, and Lagos-based mainly, you can give them some push, some support from government side, just in case. I think that will also be of a good help. Please, one more time, let's do it for Lagos. Thank you so much. Like I said, before I brought her up stage, Lagos is indeed doing well. How many of us watched the E1, correct? I did. That was good. And other initiative, not out of the 36 states, I think Lagos and a few other states have created an office for climate change. And you can see, all the effort they are putting in. We're indeed very pleased for them. All right. We move into what I've called the best part yet for this event, before we get into the pitches, is because this topic that we're going in for the panel is quite interesting. And I'll tell you why. Around the world, we are witnessing unprecedented momentum in climate innovation. And it is driven by young entrepreneurs. You see all the bright innovation, great ideas, young entrepreneurs are driving it. And they are also in research institutes, and you see them with their startups committed to solving most of the pressing environmental challenges of our time. And that is real. That's true. But yet, despite the energy we see in these young people, a critical gap persists, and many may wonder why. Despite the many promising climate solutions, one thing seems to be the problem. They struggle to move from idea to impact, which is the main part of what should indeed happen, from idea to impact. And that's where we need to solve the problem. And that's because they are caught in what some people may want to describe missing in the middle. So where are they, missing the point, moving, from idea to impact? Where they are grown, most of them, the basic grant can't solve or push them any further from, those innovative ideas they have. They need the big investment. So where can they get it? How can they get it? Technical assistance, where can they get it? Those early stage venture support required to become more investment ready. How can they assess it? So Let me not give you too much expo into the panel conversation. But ladies and gentlemen, our next panel will be Investing in Climate Innovations, the missing middle of technical assistance and venture support. Please, 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 your attention is required for this session as we'll be learning quite a lot. Okay, please join me as we welcome our moderator for this panel session, Doyin Pierce, founder, Climenergies Consulting Hub. Please, a round of applause for her. A round of applause for her as she comes. Also join me to welcome Adeyemi Adebayi, Investor Catalyst Fund. I said young entrepreneurs before. You see them, young, they're ready. This one has the money, so Also join me to welcome my very good friend, a fellow global shaper, Kemi Olajide, Principal Africa Climate Ventures. We used to be in the Global Shapers community together. I didn't know she has money. She has started this, venture that is giving people money now. Please hold down. All right. Also join me to welcome Mide Alonge, partner, Grenco Capital. Online, okay. Mide, can you hear us? Confirm. Technical team, is it on? Okay. Also like to invite John Akinteye, Senior Program Officer, Climate Action Africa. I told you young. Please keep clapping. Look at them. The idea is fresh, young. I told you before. Also welcoming is Neil Rigner, CEO, Heirloom Labs. Online, okay. Please, technical, can you confirm if they are all online? Please, round of applause for him if you're clapping. Ryan Taylor, Fund Manager. Is he joining online also? Oh, yes, okay. Please, round of applause for him. Please be helping us check that they can hear us. And I think that's all for our panel moderator. No other person missing? Not at all. Okay. If not, I yield the mic to the moderator for the next 30, 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. All right.
Thank you very much, Wisdom. I think you've set the right context for the panel session. Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to you all. It's my first time here, so I'm delighted to be part of today's program, which is the third edition of the Impact Hub African Climate Finance Day. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Doyin Pierce. I'm the founder of Climenergies Consulting Hub. It's a Lagos-based consultancy firm that provides integrated advisory services. Across climate, critical minerals, energy systems, ESG, and sustainability. We service clients on the continent, across the continent, and also in emerging economies. The topic, prior to, up and until September 2025, I was a global member of the venture capital team at Siemens Energy Ventures. It's the corporate venturing arm of Siemens Energy, one of the leading energy giants. And my experience in that role and in my current role actually will set the context more or less for this conversation. Like Wisdom had said in the introduction, we're all aware of what the challenges we're facing. We're seeing more and more capital coming into the sector, but then there's still the missing middle. It's really about how do we move from transforming ideas into, scalable, investable, ventures. And the interesting thing is that the issue has not always been lack of funding. We're actually seeing more funding going into sector. But it's really about how do we move the needle? How do we move from this space of, very innovative ideas into, having scalable or bankable, investable ventures. And in my role, my current role and in my former role, I realized that the key challenge has always been access to specialized technical, what I call technical assistance. And it takes different shapes. It could be, market validation. It could be access to testing, co-testing or co-piloting opportunities. It could even be also access to catalytic, capital. And this has been the real bane of the issue. So again, not to waste further time, this panel will actually be deep diving into what this missing middle is. We want to understand what is really the problem. Fortunately, we also have some founders on the panel who are based outside the country. So it will be good they're based in the US. It will be good to also learn from them. Is this also a challenge we're seeing in other jurisdictions? Is it an African problem or is it a global problem? And we'll also want to learn what are the lessons, what has worked in those jurisdictions that we can probably also take in here. And of course, we're also going to talk about it's about finance anyway, so we're also going to talk about other finance mechanisms that probably are in place that can help de-risk these climate ventures. And then we will open up the conversation as well to the audience. Particularly, we'd like to hear from founders in the audience to understand what their challenge has been in this area in terms of the missing middle, how they've been able to navigate the space. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the member of this panelist to you. It's a heavily loaded panel. We have a mix of the key stakeholders who can actually speak to these issues. We have investors, we have founders, and we also have venture builders. So without starting with in any particular order, I will like each one of you, the panelists, to introduce yourself briefly, roughly 30 seconds. Just tell us who you are and what you do. And can IT confirm that we have Ryan and Neil also online? Okay, great. So Yemi, I'll probably start with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Yemi Adigbai. I'm a member of the investment team at the Catalyst Fund. We're an early-stage climate adaptation and resilience fund focused on Africa. We pride ourselves as being one of the most active climate investors focused on the continent. When Ido Akinde mentioned Zebra Crop Bank and Earthbond earlier, I blushed because they're both portfolio companies, and it's a good sign when a climate event gets started and the two companies that I mentioned are your portfolio companies. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Over to you, Kemi.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kemi Olajide. I must really love Impact Hub and everything climate because this is the first time I'm speaking in 3 days, so I hope you can hear me. I have a throat infection, but I'm a principal at Africa Climate Ventures. We're a venture builder and investment platform focused on boosting access to the global carbon markets, but also scaling climate positive ventures on the continent. We do this across a range of sectors, from energy to clean cooking to alternative proteins, as well as agriculture and soils. I'm looking forward to the conversation and looking forward to sharing more about Africa Climate Ventures today.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Akinteye. I am the Senior Programs Officer at Climate Action Africa, and my role essentially is to offer venture support to climate tech organizations, startups, and to help them scale, basically to insert, as like we've said, the keyword is technical assistance, to insert ourselves into their journey and to make sure that they tick all the right boxes and get the things they need to get right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Can we have Neil to briefly?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for having me. I'm calling in from Southern California near Los Angeles. I'm currently the CEO of Heirloom Energy. Prior to Heirloom, I was at Google and Google X working on climate technologies, wind energy specifically. After Google X, I spent a few years as a venture investor at Elevation Ventures, and in 2023, I joined Heirloom Energy. We're building a novel wind technology that is modular and scalable, and I think this missing middle is we're tackling this right now. You sort of mentioned a few minutes ago if it's a U.S. problem as well, and it certainly is.
Thank you, Neil. Do you have Ryan on the call?
I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Excellent. My name is Ryan Dion Taylor. I'm really pleased to be here, knowing that there are a few connections, also a global shaper, and also a former venture investor. So Neil and I have that in common. I've spent the past decade focused on critical infrastructure and energy, first as a chemist and a physicist, then as a consultant in business transformation and tech to market, and more recently in finance. And most of what I've observed is the opportunity for the missing middle and innovation potential in that missing middle is exciting around the world, but in particular in the continent. I have not yet formally announced this, but I'll be taking on a role as an innovation lead, steering commercialization of breakthrough science at one of the United States' leading institutions. So I'll share a little bit more. It's in Northern California-based university, and you would know it by name if I said it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Fantastic lineup of speakers. You will all agree with me. So without much ado, we'll just jump straight into the Q&A section, the segment. So we'll be starting with the definition of the missing middle. You've heard it, we've said it severally, but it will be good to just do a quick deep dive to understand what exactly it is, depending on, the side of the table you're sitting on. So this question will be to all the panelists, and this time I'll probably start with Emmy. And it will be great to just understand what the missing middle look like in practice in climate innovation in your own space and based on the experience you've had over the years.
Absolutely, and it's such a good question. For me, the missing middle is actually a no man's land. That's the way I look at it, between innovation and commercialization. It's this very gray space where founders are operating in and clearly need support, be it market access, be it in actually building out their ideas, be it in testing out some of the technical components of their businesses, and be it in needing capital as well. So it's really a range of activities that happens there in that very gray space. And I think that that's what we'll be delving into. And for us, we're seeing that, right? As climate investors on the continent, we know that opportunities are here, inherent in Africa, but also very nascent in terms of where they are in development. And that's why we're venture building our Africa Climate Ventures. And the way that we see, the application of that in practice is, you see opportunities where you like this business, it's bankable, you could see through and through. There is potentially capital that could be accessed, but just not at the scale at which it is.
financing. But it really comes down to what it sounds good, but then you say, well, great, I need a $20 million check to go build my first of a kind project. And they say, well, great, what's your technical risk? And I said, well, I still have a lot of technical risk. And they said, well, we're not interested in technical risk. So it really is a mismatch still. I think we're trying to solve it in creative ways in the US. The thing that we're building has some application in other areas, in agriculture. We found some ability to do some debt financing for the steel that we're buying. But we're having to be very creative about this gap, which again, we're sort of looking for venture investors to sort of break their model, and that's really hard at this stage. Where I think people are at least recognize the problem, so I'll give the industry some credit for taking a step in the right direction, but we don't have the solutions yet at the table.
Awesome, thank you, Neil. You've actually also touched on the second part of the question, because I was going to ask why is this gap persistent in climate innovation compared to other innovation in other verticals. You did touch on the point that it's very hardware heavy as well. But one point that Neil said that resonates with me, in my former role, I was a global investment professional at Siemens Energy Ventures, like I said. A whole lot of times when we're engaging with founders, they actually come to us and say, Ade, they call me Ade, we don't need Siemens money. I'm like, you need money, you need capital. Yes, we do, but we are, having the technical support from Siemens will make the big difference for them. And I'm like, okay, what sort of technical support? They're like, yes, even access to your technical experts, access to your R&D facilities in China, in the US, access to your test facilities, your manufacturing spaces, even access to our portfolio, because some of our portfolio products can actually fit into some of the products, you have some founders building. So this was the conversation. We got this feedback. Interestingly, we have the superpower house, but we didn't even know the extent of what we had until we started engaging with the ecosystem, And what that did for us at the ventures team was that we had to go back to the drawing board to rejig our venture strategy to incorporate what we now called sweat equity or in-kind equity mechanism. So essentially, beyond bringing finance or money or capital to the table, we can actually also make 100% in-kind equity investments. Obviously, there needs to be a strategic fit. So again, just to put some context to these conversations that, even having access to the experts, and, even market access, having access to our customers, could help move this missing middle. Okay, maybe just one more perspective, and I'd like to hear Yemi quickly, if you can just also tell us what this missing middle look like before we jump to the next question.
All right, thank you. So I tried to break this into two buckets. And first is idea to product, and then product to scale. And I think Neil mentioned earlier about how important hardware is in climate. And I'll talk about the Africa piece here. So when we look at a lot of climate innovation globally, deep tech innovation, a lot of this starts out of universities. So universities are typically one of the biggest breeding grounds for building this innovation. Unfortunately, that's a big gap in Africa. I would say to the top of my mind, there's probably 4 universities that have a reputation for doing some form of this in Africa. So there's Mohammed V in Morocco, ALU in Rwanda, NUT recently in Nigeria, and then American University of Cairo. So that's one big gap, which is it takes a lot of time to go from idea to product, and there's just not a lot of structures that exist for this. And then the second part, which probably gives me the most headache at the moment, first is there's not a lot of deep tech investment in continent. So you look at Europe, which is like a very big innovation hub, particularly for deep tech and climate innovations. There's a lot of deep tech funds, where in Africa, I don't know any African deep tech funds. So it means you're trying to build one product, but you're kind of mismatched with the type of investors that you can come in with. So if you're building a venture fund, like what I work for, you have a different return timeline than a deep tech fund wants, for example. So that means founders that want to throw a lot of capital into certain models, you have to find a way to make your business work for VC. And then the second piece here, which is still around growth, is there's a handful of climate-specific investors in continent. I used to work with a generalist fund, and generalist funds don't spend a lot of time thinking about climate. So you come and talk to someone about the idea of carbon markets or direct air carbon capture, biochar, and this is stuff that climate investors talk about every other day. But for generalist investors, it's probably the first time they would hear it the moment you bring it to them. So there's a bigger learning curve for a lot of climate themes, and then there's a huge job for climate investors. We say this in team every other week, that we need to do more in sensitizing non-climate investors to be able to come into climate deals. So I'll say those are two big parts of the missing middle for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Yemi, thanks for that perspective. Quickly, I'll just move to Neil. Neil, I'll have to come back to you. What non-financial support has been most valuable in your journey so far?
Yeah, I think from the start, I've had really good coaches to help me tell the story. And this took a lot of trial and error for me. But you know, if you think about how to communicate, a very complicated, sometimes very technically complicated solution, it's the storytelling that really matters. And I think I, as somebody who's very technical myself, want to dive right into the details of why my solution's better or the economics of it. And I think the best advice I've gotten over the last couple of years from my early investors was, look, you've got to help people understand the story here in a very simple, straightforward way. The goal of the very first conversation needs to be, if this works, then I want to invest. And that sort of mental model, if you will, was easily the game changer that I got from my earliest investors. And so it was really the coaching, I would say, that mentorship helped me understand how to communicate what I was doing.
Awesome, thank you. So, do we still have Mide on the call? Mide, are you there? IT, is Mide still on the call? No, okay. So, Kemi, we'll come back to you. How do you assess when a venture is genuinely investment ready?
That's really an interesting question, because most times it depends on the sector that they're operating in. But maybe generally speaking, a venture will be ready for investment when the product is clear, the unit economics are clear. You can see the pathway through to commercialization, whether it's on the policy front, work has been done, be it from on the carbon front, there's a clear pathway to monetizing that opportunity if the climate business or company cuts it in that criteria. In the team, which is a really critical part, right? The talent gaps are plugged. Through the venture building phase, of course, one of the things that you would do is seek to plug that gap, right? Whether it's having the finance engine in place, the impact engine in place, the governance engine in place. Once those things are all there, you would know that this venture is ready to launch. I'll give you an example. Right now, we're currently venture building an enhanced crop weathering company. And, it's in a stage where it's really hands-on from the team, maybe plus one external venture partner. And we know that that company is not ready for commercialization. However, as we go through the milestones that we set for these companies, because there's a clear milestone towards what commercialization and full scale looks like, we think that the company would be potentially ready in about 18 months. And that's on average how long it typically takes, depending on the type of company, like I said, that you're looking at. But it's all about setting clear milestones towards the company launching and blowing up on a sort of regional scale or local scale or even global scale, ensuring that the talent is in place, ensuring that the clear pathway to commercialization is there, the partnerships are in place, ensuring that the unit economics of the business is very strong. Depending on the region that the company is operating in, I think that that's a really critical part, because if you're operating in a company where the macros are not stable, in 1 minute, your margins can literally be wiped out. And so we do all of this, we test it, across a range of different metrics that we set for these companies. And once the company has been able to achieve all of those milestones, we could call it a clear venture. We could say that they've achieved the first clear milestone of venture building. Then we move into phase 2. Phase 2 could then mean you've deployed capital into this company, some level of capital, and then you're trying to get the company to achieve, another set of milestones that you put in place. So with venture building, you'll see that it's really milestone linked with the way that the company is growing and scaling. And then there's certain elements that will feed into that milestone, achieving those milestones through the journey of the company before you would say that it's comfortably at a point where you can, fully commercialize it or blow it out or go into the market and actually raise capital and say this is a bankable opportunity. And many of those ventures will fail. It's not all of them that, would actually succeed, and that's why you call it, early stage venture building, right? Something I would also flag that I think is really useful is venture building is not only in startups or, ideas to innovation. We actually see it happening in early stage opportunities, and Catalyst Fund, has also alluded to that. In our portfolio right now, we have opportunities where, the company has been operating for 10 years, and then we see this company, we see a clear opportunity there. They're telling us we're a fertilizer business, and we're saying, no, you're actually a climate business. And they're like, how? We're like, we'll show you. And so we work with them, we go into a venture building of some sort. But bear in mind, this is a company that has been growing year on year for 10 years. And then we come in, we start operating with them, we unlock a new line of revenues through carbon, and then it's a whole different business. The numbers are blowing up, investors are then interested in talking to this company, and you're seeing them sort of being on the map in their region of operation. So I think it's really interesting, how venture building works. It's not just with startups, contrary to what a lot of people think. It actually happens with even existing stable businesses.
Wow, awesome. A quick one here before I pass the mic to John. That sounds like a lot, and for any first-time founder here, they will be like, wow, this looks like passing through the valley of shadow of death. All those hurdles, part of profitability, team, governance, So, yeah, I hope the founders here are not too intimidated by that. I'm sure Impact Hub would have broken all that down. And Kemi, maybe I'll also come in with my venture very soon. I'll come knocking, so that's just on the light. So John, the same question for you, how do you assess when a venture is actually investment ready?
From my perspective, I think it starts from checking out their data. Now, data is always very important. There are many founders here. At some point or the other on their pitch deck, you see data. How we get to know is that their data aligns with real life data. It's easy to see that to quote data on paper. However, at some point or the other, either in the pilot stage or at different points, the data needs to align. So it is when we see that this data actually align is the first step that, okay, this business is ready. And the next step is, I think Kemi mentioned, it's looking at their team. Now, we know that quite a number of founders actually start or profile solutions based off, let's say, passion. And it's easy to see quite a number of startups say that, okay, it's a group of friends. Now, we need to see the diversity in the team. We're talking about probably a technical lead. We're talking about a finance person. So the whole product moves from being a project to being a sustainable business. Because really, it's we have a whole lot of people who are running projects, and projects would not offer solutions really. It is when you can scale into a profitable business, climate tech business, that's when we know that, okay, you are ready.
Wow, interesting. So time is not our friend, so I'll have to move very quickly. This question is actually going to be addressed to Ryan. Beyond capital, what types of support do your funds provide to portfolio founders?
Yeah, happy to talk about that. Can you hear me okay? Am I audible?
Sorry, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I was gonna say, so I just got to make sure my technology is working on my side. What kind of capital can investors provide, or what kind of support can investors provide beyond just capital? I think it's a really phenomenal question, because the argument that I would make is that the capital that investors provide is probably the least important thing. There is, we're talking about the context of the missing middle, and Neil mentioned this, the first of a kind capital gap. That's a really important problem to solve. There's another capital gap that's called the first dilutive capital gap that typically exists with technologies and companies that are going out to market, in particular where there's a fundamental science innovation and they're trying to get that first $1 to $5 million of initial capital between the pre-seed and the seed. At that stage of the journey, capital is incredibly important. There are a number of companies that I've been able to advise and support their fundraise and diligence and ultimately invest in over $10 million worth of investment deployed, capital deployed. At that stage, it's incredibly important to have capital. And at the later stage, it tends to change. The profile for what's valuable, what's necessary tends to change. But I would endeavor, or I would invite folks to consider moving some of those later stage priorities earlier. And what are those priorities? Well, what you should be looking for in an early stage investment beyond just the capital is, who are the syndication partners that your investor would be collaborating with? That's incredibly important, because you have to think not just about the immediate fundraise, but the next 2 or 3 fundraise activities. And if your investor is not well networked and well connected, and if your investor has not done syndication with the broader community of investors around the world, you're going to be limited in terms of who you can pull off the sidelines and convince reasonably to invest in the company. So who your investor is syndicated in is incredibly important. By extension, what sorts of technical, business, or team building learning lessons that investor has gained from the existing portfolio. It's not a surprise that as investors deploy more capital, they pick up more knowledge of how these businesses are working, and there are drastic differences between even very similar technologies. So that insider edge, knowing a little bit more about how the technology is actually capitalized, or seeing a little bit further down the road, is incredibly important. Picking the right investors with the right portfolio that matches your innovation is advisable. It's important. And then the third thing is, what does it look like for that investor to be with you and your team day by day? I think folks like to sort of tuck to the side, or maybe deprioritize, or turn a blind eye to the reality that if an investor is coming in to lead around for you, they're most likely looking to take a board seat. Do you want that investor making decisions for the business? Do you trust them to go on what we call a business marriage? This is a 15-year relationship where that advisor may be making critical decisions or supporting critical decisions in the business. So you need to have someone you can trust, someone who has integrity, and someone who's going to do what's best for the business.
Portfolio products was integrated into their solutions, or they got access to our market, our customers, and all of that. It was more like a magic wand. The moment they got that support, investors kind of came rushing. And the question was like, where have you guys all been? So obviously they needed the technology to be de-risked before coming in. But the point I'm just trying to bring here is that sometimes, like Ryan also alluded to, it's not the check. The check is critically important, but depending on the stage you're at, it's not what will unlock investors' potential. Let me put it that way. Okay, so quickly, here we have Neil and Ryan joining us from the US. So we're going to bring in some sort of cross-border perspective here. I heard Neil said, he mentioned earlier that the missing middle is the same, whether you are in the US, it's more like a global problem. We also hear Yemi say that, yes, it's a global problem, but it looks as if, in Africa, we are even more disadvantaged. So quickly, Neil, it will be good to just quickly hear from you in a minute, how does that missing middle manifest differently in the US compared to other markets, possibly Africa? I'm assuming that you've had a lot of interactions with us in Africa. It would be good to just get the quick perspective from you on how it manifests differently across both jurisdictions.
Well, I think it may be a very similar problem, but with different potential solutions. For me, I've been trying to solve this by getting the U.S. government involved, getting partners that are interested in supporting. I mentioned agriculture, for example. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is funding energy projects for rural areas in parts of the United States, and we think that's an opportunity for us to get some non-dilutive capital that can help us build our first projects, for example. So that's a government program. A second source of capital, as I mentioned, is equipment finance. It's a sort of category of debt financing where you can collateralize the debt with either steel or something that can be resold in a secondary market. For us as an energy company, we're going to buy a transformer for our project that has secondary market value, and we can get some debt as a result. And then another source is philanthropic capital. This is firms that have sort of a double bottom line investment strategy, which is to say they would like a return, but they're willing to take especially risky bets. And this first of a kind missing middle now used to be that those were funding, university projects came up before, really high risk technologies. This is capital that is willing to accept more risk than even a venture investor would, because it might have some social benefit. And so there are some philanthropic funders now that are stepping into the first of a kind financing world, recognizing that there's a gap in the financial system. And so there are think of these as philanthropic investments to encourage climate technologies to cross this gap.
Thank you, Ren. And that leads us to, we're getting to the end of the Q&A. It leads to another question. Of course, we can't be having the African Climate Finance Day without talking about finance, And I'll come back to Yemi. So what blended finance or catalytic models are working in Africa from your experience? You do have quite a lot of portfolio companies spread across Africa.
Yes,
so it'd be great to hear your perspectives here.
All right, thank you. I'll start with some of the examples we've seen in portfolio. I think grants are a very big piece of what we see in market at the moment. There are a lot of grant donors, and they're doing really great work. Particularly in the carbon sequestration space, we've seen a lot of use of carbon credit pre-financing. Essentially, this is where you get paid ahead of creating carbon credits, and you're able to use that to sometimes dilute how much equity you need or pad, as opposed to getting some equity. Concessional loans are also a very big part of what we've seen. And I think these three things, we've seen them play very differently in different types of models. And it's important as an entrepreneur to find what works best for you, but then also build your skill and your team's ability to become attractive to the type of alternative finance, in addition to just becoming stronger at raising equity. I want to apologize and answer part of the question I was asked earlier, if you don't mind. So the question around investment readiness, which was raised earlier, I think we always have to think about investment readiness in stages, because you're never entirely investment ready. So investment readiness for a pre-seed round is very different from seed A and going onward. So as a founder, you have to constantly evolve and keep thinking about these things. So if your team is a great pre-seed team, it may be a horrible Series A team. And if you don't realize this and you're aware of this, you could just get to a point where you'd never raise a Series A round because you were not investments ready for a Series A.
Thank you. That's a very powerful one. Thank you for that insight. So back to you, Kemi. I want to hear from you as well. Do you share similar views on the blended finance or catalytic models we're seeing across the continent? Do you have anything different to what Yemi has
I think
said?
Yemi said it all, but what I'll flag is even at the fund level, we're seeing blended finance play a critical role. We're currently fundraising at Africa Climate Ventures, and we're raising on the blended finance structure. And so what that means is that the percentage of our fund actually de-risk the more commercial investors. And so we're seeing that, unlock investors who ideally would, be hesitant to play in the climate space or invest in the climate space, now willing to actually deploy capital into Africa because there is somebody to de-risk them, at least up until 1x of their money. So on the fund level as well, there's innovation happening on the blended finance front. But I think you've covered it all on the portfolio level.
All right. Thank you, Kemi. To you, John, do you have anything to add to what Kemi and Yemi have both said on this?
Not exactly, because I think they've basically covered the ground. And just like Mide said, just like Yemi said, it's also very important because all of these things are in stages. Founders need to know what stage they're in to know what best to do. Because it's always easy. We find founders, it's quite easy to see founders who think they are ready for all. And in the real sense, I think it's also, we always advise to not exactly start small, but pick it stage by stage. It's always very important for founders to put that at the back of their mind when they are on this journey. Thank you.
Awesome. So to wrap up this segment, I think the key sound bites I've heard so far is, first of all, the missing middle is more like an endless ocean. There's a whole lot that happens and that is in that bucket. I've also heard that, investor readiness is very important, and I think founders must have this in mind right from day one. And of course, what investor readiness means, as Yemi said, differs depending on, what stage you're at, the maturity stage of your venture. I've also heard that, of course, the US is a much more matured market. There are quite a lot of interesting financing mechanisms available, including even for the first of a kind project, which is still kind of a gray area on this continent. I also hear that, blended finance seems to be, very common, very popular route in this part of the world across Africa. And I think at this point, we want to make this very interactive, and we'd like to hear from the founders in the audience. And I would like to hear, please feel free, we can probably take 2 or 3 founders quickly. We just want to hear from you, based on what you've heard today from this panel, what technical or venture support will be most valuable to you? He didn't wait for me to finish the question. So that's one. We have one. We have 2. Okay.
All right. Your name, what you do then.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Khadija. I'm a sustainability consultant, but I'm also a co-founder. Hi, Ms. Oshodi. I'm also a co-founder of an e-mobility startup. What kind of support would we need? I guess that also leads into my question. So e-mobility, asset heavy because we're not doing software. What is the way forward? So Neil talked about how hardware is difficult, even in a more mature market. Yemi, right? Also spoke about how that's difficult for us here. So for those of us that don't want to tweak our startups, I've had this conversation with my co-founders. We're like, it's hard to raise money to start. What is the way forward for asset-heavy startups?
Should we take the second one, then we come back to the panel?
Yes, please.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Shegun Ogunlana. I'm the founder at Ijebu Market. So we're actually working on a large-scale agricultural park, which integrates large-scale cultivation as well as agro-processing. And within that park also, there's an element of a mini-grid. So we're looking at probably like a 5 megawatt mini-grid on solar. But now, 2 things. First is when you're actually working on a project like this scale, where you're probably trying to access some climate funds and everything, you have pre-project requirements you need to work on. Your ESIA, ESMP, your technical diagrams, energy audits and everything. When you now start looking at all this, accessing the professionals, you pay a lot of money. So my concern first is when you know that, okay, someone is trying to get this project done and these things are really are to be done, are there access to things like technical assistance, energy audit, gender assessment, your financial plan, and these things is not just anybody that needs to prepare these things for you. So that's one. Secondly, also is I like the part where the those in your portfolio saying, look, these guys at Siemens, can we access their professionals? Because within our pack, where we're actually looking at maize, cassava, rice, as well as fish, because our ESI actually integrated fish because of the intensive agriculture. So we need to ensure that we are having organic addition to the territory. Now, when I'm looking at my energy audits, I need to scale. I mean, which means I have to put everything in stages. Okay, 1 megawatt first, scale it to 2 megawatts. Now, I need to be combining my energy audit from that place to my Gary process, my cassava to Gary processing, or my maize to animal feed processing. So one thing is for the fund to be there, and that thing is for the entrepreneur to be here. Now, the entrepreneur is dealing with many battles, but you still expect the entrepreneur to do this and that before you get to your own. So what are the supports that is maybe available from everybody in such a way that, okay, 10 climate finance funds, you put all these things together, we first engage that prepares us to easily access you and makes things easier. Thank you.
We'll collect invoice from this guy.
That's very power-packed. I think we can only accommodate one more, but possibly maybe after the program, if you have questions, you can actually also share with the faculty.
Okay. I actually saw his hand first, so
yeah.
Let me take it. But bros, give us invoice. Not for so you have asked us this question.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be very brief in my question. So I can relate to. Okay, so my name is Latif Salami. I'm the founder of EcoPath Limited. So what we're trying to do is in educational institutions where there is need for printing, we try to locally produce ink cartridges for educational institutions. Then we recover the empties for remanufacturing, recycled ink cartridges. So other than funding and finances, I've also discovered that, there are a missing link in collaboration, especially spearheaded by people in high offices, Sometimes it doesn't have to be money alone, It could be like, okay, you want to run some, like a kind of, how do I put this? Like a test run, just to validate what you are doing. Yeah, a pilot program, thank you. To validate what you are doing. So my question is, having access, to people that are in positions to, facilitate, project that you may want to undertake. That is my question. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll take this straight in. I don't know if there's still time.
Yeah, so Shalakwe, were you raising your hands? For real? Okay, so let's take your question.
Who now? Lagos State, they are bringing market and Paco. So let me tell you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shalakwe Hammond. I'm a co-founder as well. You said founders could ask questions, right? so co-founder Impact Hub Lagos and Ibadan. And I'm also angel investing in a very exciting new micro-mobility startup, building a car called Semeta, which you'll hear a lot about very soon. They're currently in the UM6P lab in Morocco. And two questions. One, it'd be interesting to hear the more unusual sources of blended finance that you've encountered or heard of. Sometimes I think just hearing about things or potential sources can catalyze thinking in other people. So what are those unusual sources? The usual ones would be good too, but the unusual ones around blended financing and people supporting first-of-kind financing, especially in Africa. It would be great to hear that. And my second question is a little bit more cheeky. What technical assistance would anyone on the panel be willing to commit to our wonderful entrepreneurs out here today? Thank you.
Please, can we answer the questions in 5 minutes max so that we're out of time?
We'll do that. I'll start with the easier one, and I think we'll need Kemi and the panelists here to address some of the questions. Kemi, in particular, I'm going to drag her because she's a venture builder. So to Sholakwe's last question, I'm the founder of Climate Energies Consulting Hub. What I can commit to, and I had already discussed this with Sholakwe, I'm very big on mentorship, and I think Neil also alluded to that. So I'm happy to mentor 2 or 3 founders in this cohort. I already mentor with Techsters and quite a number of other international platforms. So I leave that to Impact Hub to probably just choose or select, but I'm happy to mentor two founders in this cohort. But I think, how do we go? The questions are very loaded. Sorry? Khadija, together. Okay, so Yemi, please do.
Yeah, I'm going to take Khadija and Shegun's question together. I think I'm going to sound very unfair when I answer this, but as a venture investor, one of the most important things for us is trying to find where unfair advantages come from founders we invest in. And sometimes these are the ways to answer these 2 questions. I can give examples without giving full information. So for Khadija, this year we've invested in 2 EV businesses, and we've seen EV businesses in other markets where you find interesting ways to finance that first piece, and then you show that you have the instruments to prove skill, and then your model works at a commercial rate. If you can't prove these 3 things, it will be very hard to raise capital. And then, Shegun, maybe touching on your piece a bit. First is, from the early definition, it sounds very complex. It doesn't sound like a venture business. It sounds like you need capital that's not venture. Unfortunately, because there's not a lot of capital in the market at the early stage that's not venture, a lot of businesses try to retrofit to look like venture businesses, and then you struggle. Unfortunately, you need to find what that capital looks like for yourself. There are some grants that could help, but you may have to find in the early stages HNIs that are deeply either invested in the value chains you're talking about or interested to prove that first layer before you can find the right type of capital. Or there's the interesting piece around phasing what your business looks like. So you mentioned the combination of processing, working with agro, doing some piece around energy. We've seen businesses where I know I want to process, but if I sell to a venture investor in day 1, I'm trying to do A, B, C, D. It's too much. Phase 1 is, okay, I'm going to work with agribusinesses, and I'm going to prove that I can get this much from them. In phase 2, processing becomes value add, rather than this big monster that just confuses you, where I've not proven any of these pieces yet. So there's take bite sizes, and then as it scales, it becomes easier to sell. Even the energy piece could be optimization somewhere in this process down the line. So it's figure out what do I need to do first to look like a business that an investor can eat, and then scale up with this.
Yeah. Maybe more practical, Khadija. I know banks like Sterling Bank are very big on everything green and EVs. And
please, I think you need to be more audible. They can't hear you.
So, Khadija, to your question, banks like Sterling Bank, I know they're very pro mobility, and they essentially as a bank they can look at asset plays. So it's probably worth exploring in terms of what the conversation looks like, how concessionary their rates are, because I know that mobility is a big play for them, especially in the electric space. To your question, Sholakwe, I think that with blended finance, it's interesting. So I guess other alternative sources, beyond the usual DFIs would be for us foundations. We've seen a lot of interest with some of these foundations who now have either a climate mandate or just an impact mandate at large and can relate to your story and want to support on that lens. And so we're seeing strong interest from that front. The corporates as well. Most people would ideally not look there, but most corporates are starting to, think about going green as an essential part of their strategy and not a nice to have. And so they're quite serious about it. They have pockets of money that, can be tapped into and may be willing to, operate on the front that, isn't commercial. So I would say that those are the two sources beyond, the regular DFIs and the philanthropic organizations that you can ideally look at to, think of what blended finance can I guess, look like for Impact Hub. I think there was one more.
Something around first of a kind.
First of a kind.
How can you access? I think that was from Sean.
Okay. Yeah, so I think those were the two. But to the point around venture building, unfortunately, I guess, like with Africa Climate Ventures, I can even probably speak for Catalyst here. Our TA is usually going to be tied to our investment. And so what I can offer here is, I'd love to take a first stab at some of the opportunities that will be presented here today and see where there's a fit for Africa Climate Ventures. And should that be the case, we'll be willing to journey with you and, of course, support you on the venture building front.
Awesome. Thank you. John, over to you.
Okay, I would like to answer Salami's question, and I think the first question to answer your question would be that why do you need help from people up there? I think you should, first of all, identify your industry, and if you need grants, if you need to do research, reach out and check out grants that actually fit into what you do, and possibly just polish up your pilot phase before you now say you are going fully commercial. That way you can be sure that you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's before you are pushing it out into people's faces. On support, I'd like to say that at Climate Action Africa, we've been part of the Impact of Climate Accelerator so far, and we would not mind talking more about it in Crusade, and then we'll see how we'll do more. Thank you very much.
All right. Apologies, we can't take questions anymore. We're actually running out of time. So I hope we still have Neil and Ryan on the call.
Yeah.
Great to just hear from you on the questions. Do you have any perspectives to share? It's a different market, but again, there are always lessons to be learned. So I don't know if you got to hear some of the questions and if you have any specific reaction to any of the questions. Quickly, in 1 minute.
Yeah, so I'll add on the mentorship piece, if there's something that I can add, I know it's a different market, but certainly if there's someone in the development space on the energy generation side, solar and storage, I'm happy to help. And then I would add on that front, one of the things I've done at Heirloom, and this is a lesson from previous companies, is I built an advisory board. And startups don't have a lot of cash, but we can offer equity. And I recognize that, offering equity to advisors means legal fees usually. You have to have the structure to be able to do it. And honestly, I haven't offered a lot of equity. It's been a few number of shares. But I really started from what are the different skill sets I need to get this technology to the market. It starts with technical, but it's also regulatory. And it's, I have a couple of investors that can help. And all I've asked for them is an hour a month for equity that vests over time. So if they don't show up, then they don't actually get their equity because it vests over time. And so there's low risk on my side. And the one thing that you mentioned in the last minute or two is strategic partners. I've been mostly unsuccessful in getting strategics to help. But I have gotten some former strategics. For us, it's people who make wind turbines, Vestas and Siemens and GE. Former executives are willing to lend a hand, and so I've given them the same offer. So I just offer, if you're looking for mentors, I really sat down and thought, what are the different skill sets I need at the table? I defined each of those, and then I went and found an individual that could fill each of those seats. And they're excited because they like to be involved in early stage stuff, and all that costs me is a little bit of equity.
Awesome, great perspective. Thank you, Neil. Ran, any last word? Any comment,
Yeah,
any reaction?
I'll keep it very brief. So I spent 3 years at a $300 million blended finance fund that is leading in the philanthropic slash traditional market rate investing scheme. The fund is out to market now, raising another 300 million, so their total AUM is going to be north of $1 billion. I am a resource to anyone in this community. Please, please, please reach out. A lot of what I do now on the way to building my own fund potentially is serve as a super connector. So some of these folks that are hard to reach, whether they be in the U.S. or on the continent, I can help there. And there are 2 organizations in particular that I work through to support technical diligence and technical company building. One is called DANE, which stands for the Diaspora Angel Investor Network. And then the second is a fund called Ingressive Capital. And I can say all of this is follow-on materials.
Awesome, thank you, Ren. I hope there's a representative of Impact Hub taking notes of these commitments being made. It's been an awesome session, honestly. I have even learned more than I thought I actually knew. So thank you. But just closing notes, Wisdom, just give me a minute, please, if you don't mind. As we close today's conversation, I think one thing has been unmistakably clear. We have the solutions on the continent, but we now need to scale the systems that unlock them. And that has been the theme of these conversations. The systems, we need to scale the system. So what do we need to move this needle? We've spoken about it, technical assistance, capital, and all of that. But beyond the dialogue, again, programs like this, we do a lot of talking and talking and talking. And I think what we need to take out of the conversations today is a renewed commitment to collaboration. There's a whole lot of work that needs to be done in this space, particularly on the continent. One person can't do it all, in as much as Kemi has a venture building, has VC and all of that. I think there's room for collaboration amongst all the key stakeholders here. And I think one thing we need to take out of this is we need to keep collaborating. If we had done it before, I think we need to take it a step further so that at the end of the day, the founders in the room, and ultimately we have a decarbonized, resilient, and a globally competitive Africa of our dreams. So thank you very much. I would like to thank the speakers. I would like to thank Impact Hub for this opportunity. And yes, let's carry the momentum into the work we do tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Please, let's put our hands together for this powerful panel. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Neil, for such powerful contribution. Please, let's take some group photos real quick while our team quickly rearrange the stage for the next session. Please, should we come forward? Okay. Come forward. Please, can we get a team to quickly rearrange the stage for the next session? Thank you so much. That was 40 minutes straight conversation, and I'm sure they need another 20 minutes if we let them. But please, once again, round of applause for them. How you know a panel was very, very interesting and impactful is the kind of questions that you get afterward. Okay, please come back. Let's invite the Impact Hub team. Mr. Do also join. Jordan, please, let's jump the group photo. Right. Sorry. Where's Kewe? right. Eyes on the camera. All right, please, one more time, a round of applause for them. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, did you enjoy that session? If you did, let's put our hands together better for them, please. Okay, so we're setting up for the next session real quick. We can't talk about climate change if we don't talk about the environment. And it is because the environment itself is very critical to the conversation of climate change. And when we look around ourselves, a lot happens around our environment that sometimes we don't realize how much deep of the impact it is. One man has been at the helm of this, driving governance around our environment, pushing a lot of change, reforms, and as I said, environmental governance, just to ensure that we that live in Lagos State, we live in a more safer environment than we ever would be. Sometimes when I open the TV and I see him, sometimes him and Shewa Kimbaloe debating the topics of environment, I'm like, oh my God, we've never had a public servant this passionate about his job. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a legal practitioner and public sector leader with a strong record of service. Emphasize the word strong. A strong record of service in law, education, and environmental governance. Please, if your hands are not too busy, please let's put our hands together for the Honorable Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Lagos State, Mr. Tokumbo Philip Wahab.
Thank you very much. You see, when Sholakwe calls you, you have to make yourself available. I had to jump on a flight from a very cold country back here so I can meet up this and do justice to it. So let me recognize my sister, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Climate and Circular Economy, Mrs. Titi Oshodi. And I'll anchor every other protocol as already established. I am honored to join you today here in Lagos for this important conversation on how we unlock climate finance at a scale our continent, Africa, needs. How cities like ours, Lagos, a mega city, coastal city, can move from ambition to implementation. And I've said this severally, and one of the major reasons I had to join this conversation is that Lagos is a very appropriate place to host this discussion. We are a coastal city. Not just a coastal city, we're a mega city with over 20 million population. The commercial nerve center of this country and a vital hub for growth in Nigeria. We are also on the front line of climate risk. We are exposed to the vulnerabilities of what climate change is about. Sea level rise, excessive heat, excessive rainfall that triggers flash flooding in certain areas of the state. So I will set the tone from two approaches. The first one is to speak from the continent perspective, dovetail it into the Nigerian perspective, and then I'll anchor my narrative on the Lagos angle of it. Africa, we live in a paradox. As a continent, we only contribute like 4% fraction of the historical global greenhouse gas emissions. However, we are almost 37 or 40% exposed to the challenges of climate impact in form of drought, flood, heat waves, and crop failures, which you can explain when you look at the Lake Chad challenges, dovetailing into herdsmen and natives having their own challenges across some part of the country. Coastal storms, diseases, eroding livelihoods, and undermining developmental gains. Now, we see this clearly in Nigeria, and in recent years, severe flooding has displaced lots and lots of our people. Go around the Benue corridor, Kogi, Borno, and some parts of the north. Damaged homes and farms, and disrupted supply chains across multiple states. Coastal communities like ours in Lagos, around the Okwanja axis, is also witnessing losing of their land to erosion and salinization. Extreme heat, increasing heat risk, health risk, and stuff. Economists now estimate that climate-related losses could cost Nigeria tens of billions of dollars annually, except we find a way to build an adaptable and resilient infrastructure to finance it for us. That is why climate finance is not a luxury for us as a nation and then as a state. It is not a charity at all. It's a matter of national survival and the driver of long-term sustainable growth. Yet, when we look at the numbers, the gap is sobering. Nigeria's annual climate finance needs across mitigation and adaptation are estimated to be in tens of billions a year. Actual tracked flows are only a small fraction of that. The picture is similar across much of Africa. Our needs are growing faster than the finance available, especially for adaptation, which is so critical for our resilience. Most of the climate finance that we have seen in Africa does reach our shores in terms of public and concessional dominated multinational developmental banks facilities or from partners. Private capital is growing in bits, but not nearly fast enough. And too little of it is reaching the local levels, where cities, states, and communities are actually implementing the projects. So we face a double challenge. We must expand the volume of climate finance coming into Africa, that's one. And we must drastically improve on how that finance is structured, deployed, and aligned with our developmental priorities. At the federal level, Nigeria has taken important steps in the past few years to provide a policy anchor for this work. Our Climate Change Act sets a long-term ambition for a net zero and creates a framework for governance and financing. Our energy transition plan provides a path to a net zero by 2060, while expanding access to affordable, reliable power. Sectoral policies in renewable energy, transport, agriculture, and industry are evolving. But here, I have to focus on Lagos. And why Lagos? For those who don't know, let me digress and paint a picture. Lagos is like a dot on the map of this country. The size of Lagos is 3,577 square kilometers. A third of this is water. On the south boundary of Lagos, you have 187 kilometers abutting the Atlantic Ocean. Lagos is, however, housing 10% of the country's population. Now, imagine that in your mind, 10% in a small space, a third of which is water, and is growing daily. The recipes are clear. So when you see flash flooding in certain areas, it's not because the government is not doing so much. It's because there's so much you can do when you are exposed to the real challenges of climate change. Let's stop playing the ostrich. The sea level will be up. When sea level is up and excessive rain is here, you have a tidal lock. A tidal lock means your storm water cannot discharge easily. Now, when you now mix that with a cocktail of the badly behaved human elements, where individuals think they are above the laws of the land, they can reclaim and build on floodplains, destroy your mangroves, destroy your wetland that's supposed to be a natural sponge. Then you have what you call flash flooding. But we can't fold our hands. We'll get to that later. Now, as a state, the gap between these climate challenges and our sustainable opportunity in climate finance, this is precisely why climate finance has become a key component of our developmental strategy. Lagos State Government, under Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, unveiled its Lagos Climate Action Plan, a document jointly developed with C40 cities that sets out a clear pathway towards a low-carbon, climate-resilient future, with ambitious targets across critical sectors such as energy, transport, waste, and water. Complementing this is the Lagos Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan, our long-term roadmap designed to strengthen the city's resilience over the next decade. The LCAP lays out our adaptation measures with focus on nature-based solutions that involve 33 initiatives, which were carefully divided into the bankable, partially bankable, and non-bankable projects requiring concessional financing, blended financing, and or outright grants to implement. The plan emphasizes the strategic and scalability of projects that require a mix of public and private sector funding, pursuant to effectively and efficiently delivering both environmental and social benefits to Lagosians. Not relenting on just developing a labyrinth of plans, Lagos State proactively took a further step to develop the Lagos Climate Finance Plan to oxygenate our call to action by taking a bold step to cost within the prevailing macroeconomic vagaries the identified climate change related priorities, that is mitigation and adaptation projects. In our aforementioned studies and plans into a pipeline of financially viable projects, the Lagos Climate Finance Plan was principally developed with a view to operationalizing our climate change goals. We're happy to inform you here that this finance plan was developed in partnership with the UK government, C40 cities, and KPMG to offer or suggest financial structuring options and cost estimates for the use and consideration of domestic and foreign investors. Let me digress by saying in the past few years also, because of the way we've put our strategies before the world, we've gotten some key investors trying to play in that ecosystem. We have the Dutch government supporting Harvest Waste to move us from our linear waste system where you just pick and dump through the years. That's why when people talk about Olusosun, Solo Street, the history behind it is not just today. For decades, we just pick our waste as a waste and we dump. Today, we are moving from that linear process to a system where a waste is seen as a resource for power, resource for wealth. Harvest Waste is doing that of power, and some Chinese company. Lafarge is taking up our combustible waste to power their machines at Ewekoro. Juice Pond Zoom Lion is taking waste to wealth to produce us compost fertilizers and recyclable plastics. These are things we're doing based on our strategies. Having known that strategy and planning are only part of the picture, Lagos State Government recently launched a groundbreaking and pragmatic initiative to bridge the gap between ambition and implementation. This initiative, titled Lagos State Climate Investment Opportunities Diagnostic, was unveiled and launched by Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu at the just concluded 11th Lagos International Climate Change Summit held in November this month, 2025, to underscore the seriousness of state governments at walking its talk on climate change and investment. The Climate Investment Opportunity Diagnostic is a strategic pathway to accelerate Lagos' climate ambition and foster partnership that unlocks Lagos' green potentials. Key opportunities listed and diagnosed in the CIOD include investment in built environment and energy, transportation, solid waste and liquid waste sectors. We are currently operating with the federal government of Nigeria, being the foremost subnational that significantly contributes to Nigeria's nationally determined contribution, NDC effort, to reduce the greenhouse gas emission and adapt to the Paris Agreement. We do not need to reiterate that national goals are realized or fail at the subnational level. As such, Lagos as a megacity holds the key to unlocking scalable climate solutions. We are also collaborating with major global institutions such as the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, United Nations Environment Program, the C40 Cities Finance Facility, the Global Environment Facility, and the Green Climate Fund, amongst others. We believe that through this partnership, we can co-create the required sustainable, pragmatic, and innovative financing models that will assist Lagos State to deliver its projected climate objectives for the benefit of Lagosians. Don't also forget, this is the first subnational to go to the market with a green bond. That was oversubscribed. The lessons from Lagos is clear. Climate action is local, but climate projects can only be financed globally through partnerships. While public funds and international development financing remain significant, we have concluded that they are no longer sufficient to close the continent's climate financing gap. These are the realities. And let me also digress. For Titi and some of our colleagues that were at Brazil, I chose not to go. And I will not go. Because the West will not give you the financing you require. So why the jamboree? This is my position about it. So we must keep looking inwards to find the sustainable way to get our financing. Our goal is clear: to make Lagos a model of subnational climate leadership in Africa. A city that is resilient, globally competitive, and one where climate action drives economic growth, attract investment, and create significant number of green jobs. Consequently, Lagos is deliberately creating an enabling environment for private capital to flow into green investment and building a robust pipeline of green businesses, while not taking off the hands on the wheel that currently drives the resuscitation of brown investments. Thus, we are taking the heavy lifting by ensuring policy coherence, regulatory predictability, and project bankability. And now is the call for action. In closing, I, on behalf of my governor, my principal, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, hereby respectfully call for a stronger collaboration to align federal, state, and international climate policies to fast-track green finance, because we believe that a unified national Nigerian fund is essential. We also urge fellow African subnational leaders here present, represented or watching, to please adopt similar strategies, share best practices on governance, green public financial arrangements, and project structuring. Lagos is not in this race alone. Our success must be a template for our sister cities and states across the continent. Africa's green growth will be built from the bottom up. Finally, we challenge the multilateral development banks, development financing institutions, and the international private sector to move from rhetorics to action by providing risk-tolerant capital and simplifying access mechanisms. Let me reiterate what I said at the 11th Lagos International Climate Change Summit earlier this month. Lagos is ready. Ready to lead in the sustainable management of its ocean and coastal resources. Ready for investment, ready for innovation, and ready to build resilience that benefits our people. Therefore, let us leave this event with a renewed conviction. The financing for Africa resilience and green future exists. It is our collective responsibility to design the pathway, build the institutions, and align the capital to unlock it. The work begins here in Lagos. Thank you very much.
Okay, please, we'll just take some group photo. Mr. Doe, this way. Jordan again, our special advisor on climate change and our founder, Impact Hub. That was a powerful speech. Please, one more time, let's put our hands together for Lagos State. Lagos State is truly ready. Lagos State is setting the pace. Lagos State has shown leadership, and that is what we need. We are also hoping the Honorable Commissioner will also listen into the pitches. Give us a few minutes just to listen into the pitches. We have only 3 of them. And it's important because, as I said earlier to the special advisor, sometimes government support to push them is very critical. Please, one more time for the Honorable Commissioner. We also need you too, sir. Okay. All right. Okay. We can allow the commissioner go. He just showed me that our guy is calling him. It's very important. All right. Please, as he leaves, let's appreciate him with the hands together. Thank you so much. If you follow what is happening in Lagos, when you see the Honorable Commissioner, you'll really commend him. If you have been in government before, like I have, you will know that sometimes to push certain reforms, it's not easy. You need to be firm. To provide certain level of governance, you need to be firm. He is firm. Providing the leadership that needs to get things done when it comes to environment. And it's not really easy, but every time I see him, I want to commend him over and over again. We've achieved a lot of results, as he has shared today, and that is what is most important. Ladies and gentlemen, the best part of today is our pitches. I would like you to listen to these young entrepreneurs, listen to their ideas, listen to how they have profiled solutions to some of the biggest problems in climate change, and hopefully our investors, our funders, and VCs can see an opportunity to, invest in them and be able to move that idea to market. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I'd quickly like to now invite our first company or entrepreneur who will be pitching to us. His name is Seyi Alabi. Seyi Alabi is in the house, and his company is the founder of Crop to Cash. Please, if you're clapping, can we clap louder for him? Please, we have 5 minutes for your pitch. I know you don't need up to 5 minutes, but I'm giving you 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm not the commissioner, so I'll just wait for this to move. Not yet anyways. Okay. Do I get a clicker or we're just gonna, okay, I'll just say next slide. All right, yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Seyi Alabi, and I'm here to tell you how Crop to Cash, my organization, is putting a bank branch, an agronomist, and an input shop at the tip of a farmer's fingers. Next slide, please. Feeding the world is a very difficult task for farmers, characterized by low productivity, a very huge lending gap, and also we've realized that the extension agent to farmer ratio in Nigeria currently stands at 1 to 10,000 farmers. So one extension agent, with extension services being a dying occupation, if I'm allowed to say, there's these very wide gaps, and also 4% of all bank lending goes to agriculture. So we expect smallholder farmers who can amount up to 30 million in Nigeria and over 300 million in sub-Saharan Africa to feed the entire population while investing just 4% in them. Next slide, please. Our solution is very easy. With a function phone, farmers can access our platform, and they can do that in 2 ways, which is by dialing our unique USSD code and getting connected to a digital economy that creates a credit profile for them and a credit worthiness score for them too. And this is something we've been doing for the past 4 years, and we've been able to demonstrate to multiple farmers both in Nigeria and Kenya. Next slide, please. And also, we have our knowledge products, which is our virtual AI-powered extension agents, which basically gives farmers up-to-date advice, tailor-made advice that basically fits everything they do. And also, so you can think ChatGPT, but for farmers, and it is a toll-free line. All farmers need to do is just dial the number, and they get to speak to our AI-powered extension agents, which gives them real-time advice. Next slide, please. So from financing to knowledge, we've been able to do a lot, and we're open to do more. With over 500K farmers already onboarded in Nigeria and Kenya, we've also been able to generate $1.5 million in revenue, while at the same time unlocking up to $3 million in credits for these farmers using our AI model. Next slide, please. So we have the complete value chain in our farmers' pockets. The Voice First AI is a freemium service whereby farmers just dial, and the insights generated from all these calls can be sold as a software, can be sold as a data to big agro companies, agro processors, and also input providers. We also have our integrated payment system, like I said, the USSD platform, whereby farmers can do anything from performing non-agricultural transactions to performing agricultural transactions, and every single transaction is recorded by our AI moat, which basically helps them boost their credit score. So instead of collecting collateral or asking for paperwork from farmers, this does the job for them. Next slide, please. Like I said, we've onboarded over 540K farmers in Nigeria and Kenya. We've been able to reduce our delivery time from between 24 to 48 hours from the first time the farmer orders. And also, we have supported over 10 local languages with Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Swahili, just to mention a few. And also, our average call time right now stands at 20 minutes per farmer. So our farmers spend a lot of time talking to our AI machine. And all of these information are what builds the AI moat. Next slide, please. Like I said, our customer acquisition strategy is very simple. A freemium service which basically helps attract farmers, because, I mean, what's the point of robbing Peter to feed Paul? It's a freemium advisory service. Our USSD platform is also relatively cheap, which is around 6 naira 90 seconds. That's the average USSD rate for every transaction. And also, we have embedded our credit and our data as a software as a service model into all of our products. Next slide, please. Right now, the market opportunity is very big. It is a $300 billion market with up to 300 million smallholder farmers waiting to be onboarded. We've only done over 500K, which is like around 1.something% of those figures. And we've also identified 10 local markets, 10 African markets that we're looking to expand to, and we're leveraging on partnerships to do that. And also, we're looking at a potential expansion into India, because India is also a very, very important market with the population size that they have, and also the varieties of languages spoken in India. Next slide, please.
I think it's time up.
5 minutes is up.
Gone. Up.
Oh, perfect.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any questions for cash to crop, right? Crop to cash, rather. Any questions going? Any questions going? Any questions? All right. 1, 2. Okay. So quickly.
Many thanks. Sorry, I'd love to hear more about the numbers. So I'll start with the number question.
Okay.
How are you achieving 63% gross margin? And then it would be good to understand what percentage of your users are still in the freemium mode and those ones that are actually paying you. You've seen the average revenue per farmer, so you don't need to do that one. So just those first 2 questions. Thank you.
Okay. So the first one is how we've been able to do 63% gross margin. So on our inputs marketplace, what we do is we understand the fact that agriculture is a seasonal practice. So the 63 gross inputs means over 2 seasons, the 2 major seasons, which is dry season farming and wet season farming. So we have over 31 point something percent per season. And also this is because, as we all know, agriculture is a game of scale. And for a lot of these farmers, getting our input at the right market price is very important. And what we've been able to do is we get a very huge discount on bulk orders from agro dealers. We've partnered with organizations like OCP, Indorama, and Saro Africa. So what we basically do is we buy this in bulk from them. When we extend the input credit to our farmers, we extend the input credit. And when we also sell on our digital marketplace, we sell at that margin. And we've been able to do that for over 3 years now.
All right. We have 1 minute to take the last question.
Thank you so much. Oh, shit. Sorry. Hi. Well done. Really amazing. I have 2 very quick questions.
No, 1, please.
No, but it's...
One.
Okay. How are you measuring your impact on the climate today? And sorry, but based on your numbers, it looks like your farmers are making approximately $1,000 a year. How are you maximizing their outputs as well?
30 seconds.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So the first question is how we are measuring our impact. This is actually very interesting. Sometimes we do the impact assessments ourselves, and we also partner with organizations such as 60 Decibel to measure the impact. If I could change my slide, it would take you to the impact slide. And what we've been able to do is we've been able to increase farmers' income by 70% while boosting their productivity by 60% with our services. And also our AI advisory has helped farmers reduce over-application of inputs by around 40%. So they are saving more and earning more.
Fantastic. Please, round of applause for Sheyi. Thank you so much. We are clapping for him as if it's easy to come and talk. Please. All right. Very quickly, our next company to pitch to us is Climatrix AI. Founder Umar Farm. Hope I got that correct. Please clap for him so you encourage him. I see AI as part of your name, so I'm already interested. You have 5 minutes.
So hello everyone, I'm Omar, founder of Climatrix AI, and we are building climate intelligence for the next billion people in the global south. Next slide, please. All right, so close to 40% of Nigeria's economic activity is threatened every year by extreme weather conditions such as flooding and heat waves, leading to damages exceeding over $2.3 billion. To put that into perspective, that's about 3 trillion naira every year. So Nigeria's economic powerhouse, Lagos, is at risk of being submerged, partially submerged by 2050, and being under complete submersion by the year 2100. Next slide, please. And these problems can be, Africa's weather intelligence solutions fall into either of these 3 categories. The first one is most of them have poor local accuracy. Some are not decision ready, while others are not easily accessible. So none of these are designed for hyperlocal climate nuances, and our climate vulnerabilities are actually growing faster than our ability to predict them. Next slide, please. So Climatrix AI is building a smart city solutions that combines IoT, AI, and crowdsourced reporting to predict climate risks and vulnerabilities at a hyperlocal level up to street level precision. Next slide, please. Some of the major features of our solution include basic risk alerts, real-time weather dashboard systems, conversational AI agents, and flood risk and ESG certifications. Next slide, please. Here is a basic, is a screenshot of the dashboard of the software. So you can see data controls that are used to measure indices like floods, everything from floods all the way to heat waves and storms. We have real-time alerts for locations of interest, and the conversational AI agent you can chat with 24/7 to get further insight into the data. Next slide, please. So our revenue model is a freemium to enterprise model. We have a free tier for communities, residents to access flood risk assessment of their locations. And we have industry-grade dashboards and APIs, as well as custom logistics for industries such as real estate, logistics, and aviation. Next slide. We're currently at very early stage. We generated over 400 flood risk reports so far. Currently in partnership with Nigerian communication satellites. And here are our projections for the next, the first one is when we launch in 2026. So it is our projection for the coming year, the next year, and 2027. Next slide, please. So as for the market size, the total addressable market is at $200 billion. This represents the weather-sensitive economy in Africa. And our serviceable obtainable market, although it's growing at 14% annually, it currently sits at $163 million. Next slide, please. So far, we've been awarded the Climate Traces Special Prize by the University of Cambridge. Currently among the winners of the UNICEF Climate Innovation Challenge, and currently at the first phase of our IP patent filing to secure our intellectual property. Next slide, please. This was actually an afterthought. That's why it looks kind of messy. Just a brief overview of our competitive landscape. Because of time, just next slide. So our roadmap is to activate our early revenue engine, run pilot projects with early adopters, secure some non-dilutive funding and grants to further de-risk the innovation, and then gradually optimize for scale. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the team. I'm the founder, Omar Farm. We have a hardware engineer who specializes on the IoT mini weather stations. And we currently have 2 advisors. So we have a technical advisor who is a systems design engineer at Qualcomm, and a sustainability advisor with about 20 years of experience in the environmental engineering sector. Next slide. Yeah, thank you.
All right, right on time. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, question 1. Question 2. All right. Please get her the mic.
I'm the chief questioner of the evening. Thank you very much, Umar. So I was trying to understand a little bit the money slide that you showed. The 2025 numbers, they are real?
2026 projections.
Oh, the projections. So the only one that's real is the 80-something percent.
No.
Nothing is real. Oh, so no money. Oh, okay. So what's your moat? Are you the only one signed on with NIGECOMSAT, or is anyone else signed on? Do you have a backup sort of partnership? And then 2, what are you really providing? I know you're still filing, so you may not want to share the insights, but is it pooled data? Are you building wind vanes or some other sort of equipment to help us measure data? What really is the offering beyond sharing the data? Is there any, it would be good to understand the breadth of what's being offered beyond the end results of what the customer accesses. Thanks.
Okay, so I'll say the first, the major part of the moat is actually in the intellectual property. So currently, like I mentioned, we're collaborating with researchers from across 4 continents to build the world's most advanced climate intelligence model for data-scarce regions. So we combined a couple of stuff. So because of the patent, I will not be able to go too much deep into the technical details. So that's the first part of the moat. The second part is due to the crowdsourced report model of the system, the more users use it and the more feedback you get, the better the model gets in predictions. So it has like a kind of network effect that the more people use it, the better it gets over time.
I heard that one though. Will you share the money? Okay, sorry, next question.
Sorry, hi. I have a two-in-one question for you.
Okay.
So how do you get your data, and what's the localized application for this?
Will you pay for it if we tell you?
So what I'm asking is this: are you building for Nigeria or you're building for?
Okay.
You get what I mean? Localized application
That's three
for it.
questions, right?
No. How do you get your data? Like, how do you collect your data? And what's the localized application for this?
Okay, so we gather the data from, I'll say 4 sources. And the first one is global weather satellites. So, but the global weather satellites are not accurate enough for our local applications. So those satellite models have to be downscaled for the accuracy to be good enough to be used for decision making. So for doing that, we combine with data from our own local IoT weather stations with crowdsourced reports of people in the communities on ground. So we merge this together to create an AI fusion model that is gives better and hyperlocal predictions. And the second question is about yeah. So we started from Nigeria, of course, but the dream is actually for the entire global South. So looking at the Middle East and Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, please round of applause. Thank you so much. When I saw his projections, when I saw the money too, me, say, you wish to give him money, Abi, the money is enough. All right. That's a fantastic innovation there. Very quickly, we'd like to invite our third entrepreneur who is coming to pitch to us. His name is Adebayo Odulami, and he's founder of Zoomy. Please round of applause for him as he comes. Is he online? Okay. Can you hear us, Odulami?
Please confirm you can hear me.
Okay, we confirm, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, we can see his video, or is it without a video?
My video is on, but I think it's broadcasted. They're sharing the screen from the venue.
All right.
Okay, yes, I'm good.
Good, okay. You have 5 minutes. Your time starts now.
All right, next slide, please. So there are 2 major problems we see in our mobility sector today, high cost of operations and the pollution it is that we see from our vehicles. Subsidy was taken off, prices of fuel have gone up by nearly 400%, eroding 50% in margins for business owners, fleet operators, and micro entrepreneurs. And we know that these vehicles pollute the atmosphere. Next slide. But with that problem comes a huge opportunity. Nigeria is home. Next slide, please. With that problem comes a big opportunity. Nigeria is home to the largest 2- and 3-wheeler vehicles on the continent. And we know that these vehicles are the backbone for logistics and transportation. So we're better to start electrification. Also, we've seen that the single most expensive thing on the electric vehicle, which is the battery, is now constantly getting cheaper. And the Nigerian Energy Transition Office has said that, by 2040, 60% of the vehicles on the road will be electric. Next slide. That brings us to the solution that we are building, battery swap stations to drive the adoption of electric 2- and 3-wheeler vehicles on the in Nigeria and Africa. Till date, we have rolled out 10 battery swap stations across the city of Lagos. Those stations power as much as 250 to 300 vehicles on a daily basis. We have actually now facilitated over 50,000 battery swaps, and our drivers have avoided nearly 180,000 tons of CO2. So think of our business as the fuel station for electric vehicles. The only difference is it's cleaner, it's faster, and it's a lot more efficient. Our stations are powered by 3 major sources of power: solar, grid, or LPG, and each station has a hybrid solution. And we do that to address the power problem it is we see in Nigeria. Next slide. So like I mentioned earlier, we have 10 stations. Those stations have a hybrid solution. That hybrid solution addresses the power problem it is that we see. Our stations are chassis and battery agnostic, so we're not charging for just one type of OEM, but multiple types of OEM. And the data it is that we've gotten from over 50,000 battery swap is what helps us as we continue to scale the business. Next slide. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. This is just speaking to the risk that we have seen in the business from the first time it is I raised capital in 2022 to date. And all of this risk, Zumi has been able to address them, from the power issues to the policy problems to the theft on battery and environmental issues. We've all found solutions to them. Next slide. So in Africa, in terms of market opportunity, in the last 3 years, we've seen nearly $250 million raised by EV and e-mobility startups. Nigeria is not being left out in that. We've started seeing players also deploy electric vehicles in Nigeria. Next slide. So till date, we have partnered with 5 major OEMs, Spiro, Tanvolt, One Electric, Orbit Electric, and EcoWaka. These OEMs run their vehicles across our battery swap stations in the country. We also have a partnership with AP Fuel Station that allows us to co-locate our charging stations or battery swap stations on their premises. And we have a partnership deal with Oxygen as well to finance motorcycles and three-wheelers for off-takers that are looking to transition from petrol engines to electric engines. We raised $750,000 between 2023 and 2024. We're in the market to raise $2.5 million now. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, this is just showing how it is we're looking to scale over the next 5 years. We're going to be building over 500 battery swap stations. Today we have 10. The capital we're raising now is to build 50 more charging stations that would support 1,500 vehicles on a daily basis and have us facilitate nearly 50,000 battery swaps monthly. Next slide. So this is revenue we expect to see over the next 5 years. Post-investment, we're looking to we're expecting revenue to rise from $1.2 million to nearly $60 million. For every new charging station or battery swap stations it is that we deploy, our margins increase, and for every new electric vehicle that is using that charging station, our profitability increases. Remember that our stations are chassis and battery agnostic, so that's one of the things that is going to help us really ramp up revenue over the next few years. Next slide. So we're raising $2.5 million. That capital is going to be used to deploy battery swap stations, build battery inventory, build a team, also improve our technology marketing. And this $2.5 million we are raising helps us to get to the next milestone where we're looking to raise $6 million in 2027. Next slide. So we have employed over 31 people now. By phase 3 of our expansion, we expect to have over 1,000 people. I have a fellow co-founder. As we continue to roll out charging stations and battery swap station, we expect that that team that manages that process is going to be 50% women. We have reduced, or we've avoided nearly 180,000 tons today. The plan is that by 2030, we'll have avoided nearly 29 million tons of CO2. Next slide. Our team is one that is experienced. For myself, having experience in EV infrastructure and logistics, to my co-founder that has experience in climate tech and fintech, to the member of team that is very hands-on in terms of infrastructure. The team that we have today is one we are confident that can execute the plan we have ahead of us. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Time up there. Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, question 1. Question 2. All right, we have 2 questions. Please, quickly.
Hi, Dio. Well done what you're doing. I'm also in the space. We deployed, but we're more on charging stations over swap stations. We've deployed like about 30 of them. My major question to you is regarding your operational costs and how they are scaling. Based on what you've projected, it looks like as you scale up, your operational costs would also go up. So is there any mechanism that you've put in place to counter that rise in operational costs as your business scales towards the drive for profitability? Or do you have any insights whatsoever at how maybe perhaps my assumption is wrong regarding your operational cost scaling with your growth? Thank you.
Did you get that question?
All right. So,
okay.
Yes. I'm happy to take that now. All right. So in terms of how it is we're looking to manage OPEX as we scale, what contributes the largest portion of our OPEX today is our power costs. And what we have seen, or what we've learned from nearly 50,000 swaps we've done, that are type of a cheap form of your power today is renewable energy. So in going forward, we're looking to integrate a lot of solar charging systems across our charging swap stations. We then look to amortize that, and that drops significantly. I think that's the way it is we're looking to address that. Thank you.
All right, final question, and then we move on.
Okay, thank you. I think you are building a very great solution that is going to help us tackle so much problems around, the issue of buying electric vehicles but finding charging stations. But my question specifically is related to his question, which is around making a business that would be asset heavy, which kind of scares investors away. So are you also considering options of franchise models whereby you can work with other companies that already have swap stations to probably scale your solution faster and reach more two-wheelers and three-wheelers across the continent? And the major question is around how you deal with your battery waste, because while we are solving problems, we shouldn't be creating another problem. So it's kind of impossible to say there won't be battery waste, but do you have models on how you can collaborate with other startups that are working with those battery waste? I mean, to just keep the 3-hour cycle moving without creating a pile of battery waste. Thank you.
All right, there you have 60 seconds to answer this question.
Yeah. All right. So in terms of franchising and partnership, we're very open to that. Very big on collaboration. Because it's still pretty much early stage. It's a nascent space. So as much collaboration and as much partnerships we get helps us even scale faster. And now in terms of dealing with the waste, we have a partnership agreement with recyclers. So what we do is upon those batteries getting to the end of their first useful life for the electric vehicle, we either sell to those recyclers, and then they have the process and structure for actually dealing with the battery waste. Or we actually convert those batteries to other forms of storage that we can then now use to better improve our services. Take, for instance, power, ancillary devices at our charge stations or swap stations and stuff like that. So that's how it is we're thinking of managing waste and, keep the cycle moving. Thank you.
All right, final question, Mr. Do.
Simple question. How much are you raising?
$2.5 million, $1 million in equity, $1.5 million in debt.
All right, that's a wrap. Please round of applause for Edo, for Dio rather. I thought Mr. Edo has invested already. Sorry, sir. Okay, thank you so much. Our next company to pitch all the way from Egypt, we'll be doing this virtually, is Hazim Tawab.
Yeah, Hazim from Renile, yeah. Hello, please confirm that you can hear me.
All right. I mean, you need to be a little bit more audible. Do you want to check your volume, probably?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we can. Okay, so it's better. So you have 5 minutes.
Now it's better?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I will share the screen, or you will share it from your side?
I think we'll share from this side. Technical team, are we ready?
From your side, okay.
Sorry, we're trying to get it up. We are with you. Just hold on. The technical team is trying to get it up. Do you want him to share instead?
Yeah, I can share. I can share from my side. Yeah, it will be better. But just accept my request for sharing.
Okay, we have it up now. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Also, I can share from my side. Can you see my screen?
We can see, but it's up already. You don't need to share yours.
Okay. If you will share from your side, just start from the beginning, please.
Okay, but confirm you see it now showing on your end.
Yeah, I can see my screen. I can see yours. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Your time starts now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's Hazem Tawab. I am the CEO and the founder of Renile, and today we'll speak more about what we have in Renile. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next one. Yeah. According to FAO and the United Nations, our world population nowadays is 8 billion capita, and in 2050 it will be more than 9.6 billion capita. In order to cover the food need for all mankind, we have to increase our food production by 50% and saving fresh water by 30%. But how we can solve this problem if we already using more than 50% of this food during the supply chain, bad management systems, and some fragmented processes inside the farm itself, and a lot of diseases that we can't predict inside the agriculture. Next slide, please. In Renile, we are building an Renile is a deep tech company building on-edge computing RTU systems like this one, which building the full on-edge computing and data analysis inside it to measure what's happening in water, air, and soil, and sending all of these data to the farmer 24/7. And if any problem appear inside the farm, we are sending him a notification about what's happening in the farm, how he can solve the problem, and also predicting some prediction model like predictive maintenance, some water quality management, some risk analysis inside the farm itself to predict if he will continue the farming or he has to cut all of the crops now. And for sure, the controlling part for irrigation systems, aerations, and dosing systems. Next slide, please. So it's basically some IoT sensors for directly connected to Earth, and this data loggers and gateway is locally manufacturing in Egypt, here in Africa, and we are already selling for over places, and we having analytics layer for AI forecasting and automated layer for controlling panels and dashboards and APIs to predict what's happening inside the farm itself and making some decisions for diseases and what's happening. And we already have more than 56 disease and pests inside our systems for all crops and vegetables there. Next slide. Renile already working in more than 600 farmers in different places in Egypt, in Saudi, in Kuwait, in Oman, in Gulf area, all of Gulf area, all of North Africa, some in Germany, some in Czech Republic, and we already saving more than 30% of their energy costs, saving more than 10% of their water and fertilizers, and this assumption to save more than 20% of their operation costs. And for sure, enhancing their production, enhancing their quality and their quantity inside the farm itself. Next, please. Our business model is having direct sales for the hardware directly and having a recurring business model for the subscriptions and the maintenance fees and coming from the what's happening and the modeling inside the farm itself. Next one, please. Next slide. Hello. Next slide. Yeah. We already having changing our business model nowadays to be a product as a service, B2B to C model, that we have different distributors in different places. We have in Senegal, we have in Turkey, Algeria, British, and also for the Gulf area. And these people and these distributors taking our systems and they are reselling it directly to different players and paying our distributors there. And this is saving a lot of us for Renile. And next, please. Already, Renile is 20 people working in different multi-disciplinary approach, coming from sales, R&D, hardware and software, deep tech, and analytics, and business development. And me and my co-founder Ibrahim is already coming also from different multi-disciplinary approach, and we already Forbes 30 under 30 last year. Until now, Renile is coming, and all of our clients coming from word of mouth, coming from farmers speaking to another farmer. We were just last 4 months ago, and we will open another round after 3 months from now. Next slide, please. As you can see that we are the only one inside the Arab region building the decision-making system and AI modeling for the farming, and with Arabic user interface, with local hardware, with open API integration that can integrate with different hardware and different software, that we can sell the hardware only, that we can sell the software only, and we are the main focus approach and an application approach that we are giving them hardware that can working in harsh conditions, that can working in a customized field for them. Next, please. Nowadays, we will open after 2 months from now a seed round for 10% direct equity inside the Renile, asking for 1 million USD. This is we will use it to expand more in East and North Africa and in Saudi Arabia. And already building more prediction model for the more diseases and more sites there, working in a product as a service model that we will give the hardware directly to the client and they will pay subscriptions only. They will not pay the hardware cost, and scaling our AI models to go more and more there. As we are in Renile, focusing more to having more software rather than hardware, as our software models can integrate with different hardware coming from different places and different manufacturing goals. Next, please.
All right, time up.
Yeah, next one, and I will sign on.
Time up.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for him? Any questions? All right, questions then. Please, one more time, round of applause for him. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, you too. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can agree with me that we've seen some good business ideas. We've seen some very innovative ideas, and we can only but wish them the very best. Hopefully, they get contacted by some of our VCs and investors who have now listened to your pitch, and they will be in touch as soon as possible. Once again, please, can we put our hands together for all of our companies who have done their pitch today? It's not easy at all to start a business, talk less of an idea and moving it to market. All right, we'd like to now quickly, and that's the end of our pitch, so we're moving on to the next segment. We'd like to now invite Abiodun Odunuga, founder of Bridge and Value, to come quickly talk to us as we move to close today's event. Please, round of applause for him.
Thank you, moderator. Good evening, everyone. My name is Abiodun Dominico Dunuga. I'm the CEO of Bridge and Value, an agency based in Paris, and also the co-founder of Friends of Nigeria, and that's a Nigerian diaspora organization headquartered in Paris, but with chapters across Europe. So majorly what we do, of course, is on two folds. We leverage our expertise to bring in European companies and investors that are interested in doing business in Nigeria, and of course, invest in startups and solutions like the ones we've seen tonight. And the other art way, of course, is also to harness diaspora prowess. So we work with different diaspora entrepreneurs, not just in France, but across Europe, who are interested in leveraging their expertise through knowledge transfer and their social capital to be able to invest back in Nigerian founders who are, of course, ready to scale. And so we not just don't help European and diaspora founders to come to Nigeria. We also help Nigerian companies to expand to Europe, and that's what we've been doing for over 10 years. Why am I here today? Basically for two things. Number one, to announce that very soon we're going to be having a partnership with Impact Hub, and that's a partnership that we're focusing on a framework. Thank you for clapping. All right, it's going to be a partnership that focused on financing, and Impact Hub, of course, has been selected as our local partner to be able to set up that framework through which partners in Europe, made up of the European investors and also the diaspora network that we've built over the last decade, to be able to invest into some of these great innovators that we have here. And so in respect to that, of course, we hope to be able to make that official announcement once we finalize that framework. And of course, with Ido together, we've been having so many brainstorming meetings. I've been here for over 5 weeks in Nigeria, and I've been to Impact Hub at least twice or thrice in the space of those 6 weeks, just to keep iterating the idea to ensure that once we're ready to get into the field, that it's going to be a smooth sail. And so I just want to let everybody know that if you have an idea, and of course you're ready to scale, not just within Nigeria, but also to move to other markets with respect to the European ecosystem, that framework we're creating will be of great advantage and leverage for you. The second thing why I'm here tonight is also to announce that based on what we're doing tonight, we have a partnership with a very formidable organization in France called Change Now. And Change Now is a gathering of ecosystem leaders, thought leaders, investors that come to Paris every year, about 40,000 of them at a place in Paris called Grand Palais. And what they do basically is to look for solutions in climate field to be able to finance. That event brings together 40,000 innovators, 1,200 investors across 140 countries from the world. And so hopefully what we're trying to do here tonight is to see if we're able to at least get at least one of the solutions that we've had tonight to be in Paris with us in April next year. All right, so I've had figures announced, so I'm not promising the investment, but I'm promising that we can give the platform for visibility for these innovators. And already we've confirmed the governor of Katsina State, as I speak to you, is actually in Paris right now. He will also be part of the delegation. And I was also very quick to also mention to dear government stakeholders from Lagos that it would be nice for them to also be there to represent the governmental voice at that auspicious gathering in Paris. This gathering has been holding for the past 8 years. It was launched in 2017, and it's going to hold from March 30th to April 1st, and it starts Change Now in Paris, in the central capital of France. So, of course, the goal for us is simple. Like I said, leverage on all the expertise we've built over the years within Europe, and be able to partner with a strong, formidable partner like Impact Hub, and give necessary, our innovators the right channel to be able to allow them not just to attract investments and FDI, but also to expand their solutions beyond the shores of Nigeria. And hopefully by the time we come back for the next event here next year, we'll be able to make some success story announcements. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
I like when I hear numbers, so please let's put the hands together for him once more again. Woo! What an evening. It's been insightful. For me, I've learned a few things. I can see how AI is changing quite a lot of things, and how different business models, are shifting, a bit more smarter, how we are gathering informations, and all that we are seeing that is happening within the space. So it seems AI has indeed come to stay, and the smarter we go, the more intelligent we are, and the more quicker we'll get the solution to the problems we want to solve. So I think that's what I pick from all of the pitches that we've had today. Ladies and gentlemen, to call it a day and wrap us up as we enjoy the rest of the evening, I'd like to quickly invite one of our partners to come talk to us and, of course, give us the final close for the day. You see him every year. He's a regular face, and he, together with Impact Hub, are the brain behind what we see every year that continues to draw investment to all of our companies that have been pitching here. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, let's welcome Jordan Forrester. Oh, I hear it's now Chinedu, right? Kedu now. Kedu. Odima. Okay, I'm greeting you.
Thanks so much. It's amazing to be here. I'm Jordan Forrester. What a night. This has been an incredible day. Thank you. I want to just a lot of thanks to do. The Impact Hub team, Lagos team here, Kevway, Iduo, Fola, just an incredible team here. I'm just honored to be up here. We had some amazing, unbelievable pitches and speakers and panelists, Takumbo, and Ryan Taylor from the US, Heirloom, Neil Rickner, just an incredible panel. Also want to give a quick shout out to Megan McFarland back in Boston. She was a senior at Holy Cross, my alma mater, who's actually been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, helping with research in climate tech. So it's great to see students getting involved. So thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. Great to be back in hot Lagos. It's funny, I think Lagos has a magical, mysterious way of adopting you. A couple years ago, I flew here to Lagos, not knowing anyone, and met the Impact Hub Lagos team. They were like angels. They took me under their wings, and I remember they created this special climate tech speed dating mixer event where I got to meet all these incredible founders. They introduced me to Nigerian startups. They even named me Chinedu, a name which I'm honored to have. And just a few days ago, I was in Ikoyi having some jollof rice with a new friend. And kind of mid-conversation, she dropped her fork and said, "You know, you kind of remind me, Jordan, of an animal." And I said, I hope it's not a mosquito. But she said, "No, Jordan, you're not a mosquito. You are a tolo." And I just paused. My face got red. I think a drop of sweat dripped down my face. An eyebrow was raised. I thought, what? I didn't even know what the word meant. And so I pulled out my iPad, went to YouTube, typed in tolo. And of course, what do I see? But yes, a wild turkey charging full speed ahead like a bee to honey to a man who was backpedaling and shrieking like a little girl. Now I thought to myself, well, you know, maybe I look like a tolo. I'm not sure. But I gave a little more thought and came to the conclusion that, you know what, maybe there's something more magical about the tolo. Maybe there's something beautiful here. No, the tolo moves with intention. The tolo goes after what it wants relentlessly, and it does not stop until it's done. The tolo plays offense. And it got me thinking, about my own life and my career, playing defense for a decade on Wall Street, underwriting corporate loans with Wall Street investment banks for oil and gas. And a year later, or a couple years ago, I ended up leaving my cozy Boston bubble after learning that Africa contributes just 4% of global emissions, which we've all heard today, the injustice of that. I flew to Lagos on a one-way ticket. On my second day in Lagos, I met Ian Aboeji. We broke bread in Yaba. I met the Impact Hub team. I met in mile 12, Babajide Olawase, who's building this startup called Eco22, off-grid solar-powered cold chain tech to fix this food waste endemic. I learned so much. Within a few months, we had created this first Africa pitch event. And I got up on stage and said, I'm here to play point guard for Africa's climate tech founders. And when I think about Africa, it's been spoken today. Africa, I think, to me, is the elephant in the room for the climate crisis. There's just massive problems on the continent, but equally massive elephant-like ginormous opportunities, not just within solar and wind, but within water security, energy, carbon removal, EV infrastructure. And we've seen the flutter waves. I think the flutter waves of climate tech are being built right before our eyes, and we've seen a few of them pitched today. Climate Bricks AI, Crop to Cash, Renile, these incredible companies. And I think what it takes to build, from Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but South Africa, Egypt, all across the continent, what I think it takes to build climate tech in Africa, and I'm still a rookie learning, is a beginner's mind. And this ability to hopefully see the balance between downside and upside. It's a constantly evolving equation, kind of like I think of it as yin and yang, sun and moon, water and fire, up and down, big and small, elephant and tolo. I think it's just important to be cognizant of all the nuance here. And these founders, I'm just so impressed by them. They are charging forward amidst this great global geopolitical, economic uncertainties, building in Africa and building throughout the world. And I had an inside view just last week in a fireside panel as part of this first cohort, as part of the first accelerator program we're building. A couple of U.S. climate leaders from Breakthrough Energy and the Heirloom founder, another Heirloom actually with the direct air capture company, Noah McQueen. They got on this really awesome fireside chat with Impact Hub. And we talked to the founders who pitched today. And I'm just so impressed how they're getting up every day with ambition, curiosity, humility, and asking the tough questions and getting uncomfortable and growing. And I think overall, if we're going to come out of this climate crisis, we're going to have to build our way out. And these founders are building here in Africa, and they're going to keep going. So I think just in closing, I want to say it's an honor to be here. I mean, I'm so grateful. I can't believe it's been 3 years of Africa Climate Finance Days. 4.0 will be next year. And I think a common theme I think about is this idea of global problems requiring global bridges. And that's why we're all here. We're building bridges, from Lagos to Cairo to Joburg, and then across the US and elsewhere, Europe, San Francisco, Boston, New York. And that's what it takes. I mean, we all talked about collaboration here, and that's why we're here. So I'm super excited. I'm bullish on Africa, and I'm just so grateful to be here. So I just close by saying, let's keep being resilient, let's be bold, and let's keep building bridges. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chinedu.
Chinedu signing off.
That's perfect. Thanks. A big round of applause for him, please. It's almost Christmas, and Chinedu has made Tolo Tolo so important. So special. And it's almost Christmas. Please. This is the season. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a fine and perfect place to leave it for the African Climate Finance Day 2025. And it's been a pleasure. My name is Wisdom Chap Jumbo. I host the Energy Outlook TV program every 6 p.m. every Friday on DSTV 408 and GoTV 145. So in case you want to follow those kind of conversations on the Energy TV show, please do so. But it's been a pleasure. 3 years gone, and we keep making the change here together with Impact Hub Lagos, and it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And as I like to say every other year, make sure you use the time to network amongst yourself. And we've had 40 incredible people watching online for the last few hours. If we want to put our hands together for them also for staying on. We've had up to 40 participants online. That's quite incredible. It means we're having something important here and they want to join. But ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your evening. And one more time, a round of applause for Impact Hub for their effort to continue to put this together. It's been a pleasure. Have a good evening. Thank you. Thank you.